Chapter 543. A few days passed in the blink of an eye, and it was the day of the chess match between the Fire Country and Korea. The Clear Spirit Sports Stadium was packed with people, discussing animatedly. The topic of discussion was naturally the prediction of the outcome of today's match. Because it was the Fire Country's home ground, most of them thought Jing Liu would win. Wang Haoren happened to be on holiday, and he had rushed to the sports stadium with Mu Zhaozhao and Wen Jing, ready to watch the excitement. According to the seats on the tickets, Wang Haoren, Mu Zhaozhao, and Wen Jing were seated. The three of them had bought consecutive seats and were seated together. And they were seated in the front row, close to the live broadcast screen, where they could observe the situation of the chess match more clearly. But the match had not started yet, and on the big screen, there were advertisements from the sponsors. Time passed, and the time of the match was getting closer. Jing Liu and Jiang Yun, who were playing against each other, also took the stage. Accompanying Jing Liu was a man who was armed with a hat, sunglasses, and a mask. Wang Haoren knew which idiot it was just by looking at the figure. Qin Fan and Jing Liu were whispering into each other's ears, talking about something. Wang Haoren activated his X-ray vision and read their lips. He could only see Qin Fan comforting Jing Liu, saying, "Don't be nervous, just do your best. Don't be too concerned about winning or losing, just keep your mind calm." Jing Liu took a deep breath and nodded at Qin Fan, encouraging himself. "I will not let Master down. I will definitely win against that Jiang Yun." Qin Fan smiled secretly. Jing Liu's chances of winning were pitifully low. But as his master, he could not say that out loud and only encourage him on the surface. "Do your best. Master has high hopes for you." It looked like he was encouraging him, but he was secretly thinking, "I have high hopes for you to lose. If not for that, where would he get the chance to show off his skills?" Wang Haoren watched the master and disciple talking for a while and suddenly lost interest. He turned his gaze to the other side. Accompanying Jiang Yun into the arena was the middle-aged woman who had been following Jiang Yun. At that moment, Jiang Yun was in a daze, and it was not known what she was thinking. "Yun, the match is about to start. Get your spirits up," the middle-aged woman reminded her. The middle-aged woman was Jiang Yun's aunt, Jiang Xiangmei, and was also Jiang Yun's manager. Ever since Jiang Yun sneaked out and came back a few days ago, she had been in this state. Even during training, she was often distracted. Jiang Xiangmei had accompanied Jiang Yun for so long, but this was the first time she saw Jiang Yun in such a state of mind before the competition. Jiang Xiangmei's words, Jiang Yun regained her senses. "Your goal is to become the best Go player in the world. This has been your ambition for a long time." Jiang Yun is and she's his aunt of Korea. Jiang Yun nodded woodenly, but she was at a loss in her heart. Moon, SSSSS. And it was something. Some things. It wasn't difficult to win this match, but if he really won, he might lose other important things. While everyone was worrying about their personal gains and losses, the competition began. Qin Fan and Jiang Xiangmei left the stage and went to the stands at the edge of the stage. Just as Qin Fan was about to find a place to sit down, his gaze swept around. Suddenly, a cute beauty in the audience attracted his attention. There was also a quiet beauty beside her. Qin Fan looked at her for a few seconds before noticing Wang Haoren beside her. Qin Fan was happy. He went over and squeezed into the aisle. "Haoren, you're here to watch the Go match too." Wang Haoren curled his lips. He didn't think that Qin Fan was here to greet him. Qin Fan was sneaking glances at Mu Zhaozhao next to him. It was no wonder. Mu Zhaozhao's appearance was so cute, and she was particularly outstanding in certain aspects. She was indeed attractive. "Yeah, it's a holiday today. I'm here to join the fun." Wang Haoren replied. "Don't you want to introduce the two people next to you?" Qin Fan gestured to Wang Haoren. "They're my classmates." Wang Haoren explained. He didn't even bother to tell Qin Fan their names. "What's their name?" Qin Fan asked. "Why do you have so many questions? Watch the game quietly. Don't talk." Mu Zhaozhao was very unhappy with the way Qin Fan was sizing her up. Hearing him blabber on and on, she couldn't help but criticize him. When Jing didn't say anything, she didn't look at Qin Fan. She treated him like air. Qin Fan was embarrassed by Mu Zhaozhao's words. However, he didn't leave. Coincidentally, the person next to Mu Zhaozhao received a call. It seemed that he had something important to deal with. He left with a serious face. Qin Fan quickly sat down on the empty seat next to him. Wang Haoran narrowed his eyes. That damned main character Halo is at work again. Fortunately, Mu Zhaozhao didn't want to sit next to Qin Fan. She proposed to change seats with Wang Haoran. Wang Haoran naturally agreed. Jing Lu and Jiang Yun played Go on the stage built in the stadium. The game was filmed and projected onto the big screen for the audience to see it more clearly. 10 minutes later, who do you think will win? Mu Zhaozhao asked Wang Haoran in a low voice. Jiang Yun will definitely win this game. Before Wang Haoran could say anything, Qin Fan spoke first. So sure? Do you know Go that well? Mu Zhaozhao asked in disdain. That Yin country's #1 Go player, Jing Lu, was taught by me. Qin Fan saw a chance to show off, and he wouldn't miss it. That only shows that Jing Lu has surpassed his teacher and not how good you are. Mu Zhaozhao said. Jiang Yun will definitely win this game. Just watch carefully if you don't believe me. Qin Fan did not argue, but just concluded the situation, prepared to convince Mu Zhaozhao with this. Not long after, the first game ended. Just as Qin Fan had predicted, Jiang Yun won the first game. How was it? Qin Fan asked Mu Zhaozhao, feeling a little smug. Just good luck. Mu Zhaozhao curled her lips. If you can guess who will win or lose in the next game, then you're the best. The game format was 5 games, 3 wins. After the first game, there was a follow-up game. The players on both sides rested for a moment, and the second game began. On the Go board, less than 20 pieces were placed, and Qin Fan came to a conclusion again. Jiang Yun will win this game. And the result was just as Qin Fan had predicted. Wang Haoran frowned. Did my pretty boy trick fail? Jiang Yun did not go easy on Jing Lu at all. She suppressed Jing Lu and did not give him a chance. How about now? Qin Fan asked with a light smile. If you can guess the next game correctly, I'll be convinced. Mu Zhaozhao snorted. After a while, the third game began. This time, less than 10 pieces were placed. Qin Fan immediately said, the result is already decided. Jiang Yun, from Korea, has won, and Jing Lu has lost 3 times in a row. Stop bragging. You're just making a few moves, and you're already determining the winner. That's too ridiculous. Mu Zhaozhao could not help but say. When experts fight, the result is decided with a slight difference. After Jing Lu placed 3 pieces, he lost the initiative and was led by Jiang Yun. Qin Fan sighed and said with the demeanor of an expert, Jing Lu will lose for sure. Although Qin Fan's face was covered and no one could see his face clearly, his voice was still very bewitching and had the demeanor of an expert. After hearing Qin Fan's words, Mu Zhaozhao was speechless. She somewhat believed Qin Fan's words. Qin Fan tilted his head and looked at Mu Zhaozhao's expression through his sunglasses. He could not help but smile. Then, he turned his eyes and looked at the situation on the screen. However, he was thinking about how to play with Jiang Yun after Jing Lu lost. His eyes temporarily lost focus. After a while, he finally figured out the specific plan and grinned. Coming back to his senses, his eyes regained focus as he looked at the situation on the big screen. Qin Fan's mouth under the mask returned to normal, and the smile gradually disappeared. Chapter 544. Qin Fan had seen through Jiang Yun's moves, and after seeing Jing Lu lose the initiative, he had thought that with Jiang Yun's steady, accurate, and ruthless style, she would not give Jing Lu a chance. But Jiang Yun seemed to have lost her standard. After gaining the initiative, Jing Lu had pulled the game back, and she was even suppressed by Jing Lu. The tables had turned, and Jing Lu had the upper hand. If the momentum continued, Jing Lu would be able to win this game. That situation was going against Qin Fan's wishes. Why is Jiang Yun so slow in placing her pieces? Is the situation disadvantageous to her? Mu Zhaozhao did not know how to play Go at all, and she had only come here to accompany Wang Haoran. Unable to understand the situation at that moment, She turned to ask Wang Haoran beside her. Wang Haoran knew a little, and he could see that the scales of victory in this game was tilting towards Jing Lu's side. But on the surface, he said to Mu Zhao Zhao, "Didn't my friend say it already? Jing Lu will lose this game." Mu Zhao Zhao nodded woodenly. When Qin Fan heard that, a corner of his mouth twitched, because he had a feeling that he was going to be slapped in the face. Jing Lu was going to win this game. Unless Jing Lu was also stupid and gave Jiang Yun a chance. Qin Fan was secretly looking forward to it. However, what he was hoping for did not happen. The third game was won by Jing Lu. Within the arena, waves of enthusiastic cheers sounded. After all, this was the Fire Country's home ground, and if Jing Lu were to get 3 zeros, it would look really bad. Jing Lu had won the first game, and he had regained some of his momentum. Those people who supported Jing Lu were also getting excited and cheering for Jing Lu. Ding! The host manipulated from behind the scenes, indirectly causing Qin Fan to fail in showing off. The host has gained 900 villain points. Qin Fan's main character Halo -45, host villain Halo +45. Wang Haoran's slightly depressed mood immediately relaxed, secretly feeling a little happy. It was obvious that his good looks had worked. If Jiang Yun had not gone easy on him, the game would have ended by now. Qin Fan heard the waves of cheers, and he felt his face heat up. When the surrounding cheers died down, a mocking and disdainful voice sounded from the side. "Huh, I was stunned by your bluff just now and thought that you were really powerful. It turns out that you were just making things up," Mu Zhao Zhao said to Qin Fan while shaving her face. Qin Fan was slightly embarrassed, but he could not refute anything. It was all his fault for being too eager to show off. If he had waited for more pieces to be placed before coming to a conclusion, he would definitely not be in such an awkward situation. Just now, it was purely an accident. I also did not expect that Jiang Yun would lose. Otherwise, Jing Lu would definitely lose. Qin Fan forcefully maintained the demeanor of an expert and explained his mistake. So many reasons. Mu Zhao Zhao pursed her lips. "That's not a reason. It's the truth," Qin Fan said seriously. When Wang Haoran saw that Qin Fan was so pretentious, he might as well fulfill his wish. He cooperated and said to Qin Fan, "She doesn't believe you, but I believe you. Why don't you predict the next game again and prove to my classmate that you are really capable and not a bluff?" Qin Fan nodded happily. The gaze he used to look at Wang Haoran was slightly gentle. He only thought that this future brother-in-law of his was worried about his face and spoke up for him. After a while, the fourth game began. When less than 10 pieces were placed on the chessboard, Wang Haoran said to Qin Fan, "You can predict now." "I can predict now. Who do you think will win?" "Less than 10 pieces have been placed. I can't see anything. Let's wait a little longer." Qin Fan was afraid that he would be slapped in the face again. Hence, he was much more steady this time. "Let's wait a little longer. I think I will be able to see it." Wang Haoran smiled casually. Qin Fan was not in a position to say anything. After waiting for a while, when he saw that the situation was leaning towards Jiang Yun's side, he immediately opened his mouth. "Jing Lu won," Wang Haoran said first. Then he looked at Qin Fan. "Who do you think will win?" To be honest, Wang Haoran could not see who would win. However, this was not important. The important thing was that he was sure that Jing Lu would win. Qin Fan could no longer pretend. This was because if Qin Fan said that Jing Lu would win, then he would say it after him. Naturally, it would not be considered impressive. If Qin Fan said that Jiang Yun would win, then he would be slapped in the face. "Haoran, you are too young. A top Go player like Jiang Yun will not make the same mistake twice. The situation is completely on Jiang Yun's side. She will definitely win," Qin Fan said confidently. When Wang Haoran heard this, he was secretly happy. However, he did not show it on his face and continued to watch the game. As time passed, the fourth game ended quickly. Qin Fan's face darkened. Jiang Yun made another mistake and ruined the good situation. Jing Lu won again. Ding! The host manipulated from behind the scenes and indirectly caused Qin Fan to fail. Obtained 900 villain points. Qin Fan's protagonist aura -45. Host's villain aura plus 45. Not bad. You were right twice. You are much better than the guy beside you, Mu Zhaozhao said to Wang Haoran with a smile. Wenjing also looked at Wang Haoran with a smile. Her beautiful eyes were filled with tenderness. I don't know much about Go. It was purely a wild guess, Wang Haoran replied with a smile. Qin Fan's face turned even uglier. Wang Haoran's wild guess was right. His ferocious judgment was actually wrong. How could he endure this? The person who is truly capable is my friend, Wang Haoran praised Qin Fan. Don't joke around. He is just a fake master among the common folk. He pretends to be mysterious, but has no real ability, Mu Zhaozhao teased. Qin Fan subconsciously covered his face. However, when he touched the mask on his face, he realized that his face was already covered. It did not matter if he covered it or not. Wang Haoran secretly praised Mu Zhaozhao for being so eloquent. After Jing Lu and Jiang Yun were rested for a while, the final game began. The atmosphere in the square immediately became tense. After more than 10 pieces were placed on the chessboard, Wang Haoran said to Qin Fan again, "It's the final game. It's the final round. Take a guess. Who will win this time?" Qin Fan wanted to say that Jiang Yun had the upper hand again. However, after being slapped in the face repeatedly, he was a little afraid. The situation is unpredictable. Anyone can win. Qin Fan did not guess this time and gave a jack-of-all-trades answer. I think Jing Lu will win. Wang Haoran directly made a judgment. You guessed 3 times in a row. It's impossible for you to get it right every time, Qin Fan said lightly. Do you mean that Jiang Yun will win? Wang Haoran took advantage of the situation to set a trap. She can win. Qin Fan did not take the bait. Mu Zhaozhao scratched her face and interrupted. It's the same as not saying anything. Don't pretend that you know how to play chess. The corner of Qin Fan's mouth twitched when he was scolded like this. However, when he saw Mu Zhaozhao's mocking expression, it was so cute that he couldn't get angry at all. However, he still wanted to regain some face. When the game was halfway through, Qin Fan concluded, Haoran, you guessed wrongly. Jiang Yun will win this time. Wang Haoran narrowed his eyes. If you think Jiang Yun will win, just say it. Why do you have to bring me along? Are you deliberately trying to humiliate me? Are you trying to regain your face? Are you sure? Wang Haoran asked seriously. Of course. Qin Fan said with certainty. Jiang Yun had made 2 mistakes in a row. In the final game, she would naturally be on high alert. It was impossible for her to lose again, right? Why don't we make a bet? Wang Haoran set a trap again. Chapter 545. Bet? What bet? Qin Fan asked curiously. I'm guessing that Jing Lu will win. You're guessing that Jiang Yun will win. Whoever guesses correctly will lose a bet to the other. How about it? Wang Haoran said with a smile. He had learned this trick from Chu Bai. It could be said that he had learned it and used it flexibly. However, Chu Bai had tricked the female lead. Now, he wanted to trick the male lead. Forget it. I'm not interested. Qin Fan shook his head indifferently. Sigh. Since you're not interested, then forget it. Wang Haoran muttered to himself. I originally wanted to bet with you with my sister's photo that I can't show to outsiders. What did you say? Qin Fan's ears were very sharp. Nothing. Watch the competition. Wang Haoran shook his head. I heard you. You said that you wanted to use your sister's photo to bet with me. Is that right? Qin Fan exposed Wang Haoran's previous words. I'm joking. If my sister knew, she would definitely beat me up. No. Wang Haoran whetted his appetite. What kind of photo is it? Qin Fan asked. It was taken when I was swimming. Wang Haoran fooled him. So it's a bikini photo? Qin Fan guessed, and his heart itched. What would Yao Yu look like in a bikini? Qin Fan imagined it and felt his body heat up. He changed his words. Haoran, I'll bet with you. No, don't bet. I just said it casually. How can I use my sister's photo to bet with you? Wang Haoran shook his head. Just don't tell your sister. Isn't that fine? Qin Fan said patiently. Then let's bet. Wang Haoran reluctantly agreed and asked, But if you lose, you have to do something for me. What is it? Make it clear. Qin Fan was still very cautious. After all, he really didn't have 100% confidence in winning. If you lose, you'll have to call me Daddy. Wang Hao knew that he wasn't stupid enough to agree to his request, so he suggested a bet that he might accept. We are of the same generation. If I lose, I will still call you Big Brother. Is that okay? Qin Fan bargained. What the hell are you thinking? Do you really think I'm easy to fool? Wang Hao secretly complained, but he said firmly, no way. If you lose, call me Daddy. Otherwise, I won't bet with you. What are you thinking? Why do you like people calling you Daddy? Qin Fan felt that it was a little strange. So are you going to bet or not? Wang Hao asked. Let's bet. Qin Fan was ready to risk everything for the bikini. If he were to lose, he would just have to act shamelessly. Deal. Wang Hao smiled. As time passed, more and more pieces were placed on the chessboard, and the situation became more and more anxious. In the end, both sides had a chance to win. But in the end, Jing Lu won by a narrow margin. There was a burst of cheers for Jing Lu in the field. Thunderous applause came from all around. Ding! The host manipulated behind the scenes, changed the direction of the plot, and ruined Qin Fan's chance to show off. Gained 4,000 villain points. Qin Fan protagonist aura minus 200. Host villain aura plus 200. Qin Fan's face was very ugly at this moment. His original plan was ruined in an instant, and he even lost the bet. Hey, you lost. It's time to call for help. Mu Zhaozhao urged with a smile. Qin Fan turned his head to look at Mu Zhaozhao, and then looked at Wang Hao. He squeezed out a smile and said, It's just a joke. How can you take it seriously? Before Wang Hao could say anything, Mu Zhaozhao couldn't help but look at him with disdain. You're so boring. You don't want to admit your loss? Wang Hao secretly gave Mu Zhaozhao a thumbs up and even wanted to kiss her. Hao, you see, Qin Fan said in an inquiring tone. Sigh, boring. I treat you as a friend, and you want to go back on your word? It seems like my sister won't forgive you. Wang Hao threatened him in a disguised way. Let's talk nicely. Don't be like this. Qin Fan hurriedly said. Wang Hao turned his head to the side and ignored him. Okay. It's just calling for help. I'll call for help. Qin Fan said helplessly. He still needed to rely on Wang Hao, so naturally, he didn't want to have any grudges with Wang Hao. Call for help. I'm listening. Wang Hao turned his head and looked at Qin Fan with a smile. No. Qin Fan pursed his lips and said vaguely, Do you think I'm deaf? Do you think I can't hear what you're saying? Wang Hao cursed in his heart and said with a strange expression, My sister doesn't like people who don't keep their word. After saying this, he said to Mu Zhaozhao and Wenjing, Let's go. We're leaving. Mu Zhaozhao and Wenjing nodded and got up from their seats, preparing to leave with Wang Hao. Hao, wait. Qin Fan stopped him. Wang Hao stopped and looked back at him. Father. Qin Fan gritted his teeth and called out with perfect articulation. Good boy. Wang Hao revealed 2 rows of white teeth. Ding! Host made Qin Fan call him Dad. Received 2,600 villain points. Qin Fan protagonist aura minus 130. Host villain aura plus 130. Qin Fan was angry in his heart. He thought to himself that when he got together with Tantai Yaoyue, he must teach this little brother-in-law a good lesson. It would be best if Tantai Yaoyue gave him a good thrashing. To even take advantage of his future brother-in-law. How preposterous. At the front stage of the stadium, Jing Lu was basking in the glory of victory. Jiang Yun's face was gloomy and dejected. Wang Hao looked at her deeply and understood that this little girl really needed someone to comfort her. After all, she could have won, and she could have won with an absolute advantage. If he had not purposely gone easy on her, Jing Lu would have gotten 3 zeros. Of course, Wang Hao did not feel in the slightest that what he had done was wrong. From his point of view, if Jiang Yun won, Qin Fan would have a chance to shine. After Jing Lu's crushing defeat, the storm would ferment for a while. The Goryeo media would surely ridicule them, and the people of the Fire Country would surely feel aggrieved. At that time, when Qin Fan stepped up to win against Jiang Yun, he would be in limelight and clean his name. The joke caused by his skills would also be overshadowed by the glory and glory. Wang Hao did not want to see that happen, and it was necessary to set a trap for Jiang Yun. It was lunchtime at that time, and Wang Hao, Mu Zhaozhao, and when Jing left the stadium to find a restaurant for lunch. After that, they sent the two of them back to Qingling University. In the afternoon, Wang Haoren contacted Jiang Yun and asked her to come out for a meeting. Jiang Yun naturally agreed and found an opportunity to sneak out from the Golden Hao Hotel alone. Wang Haoren picked up Jiang Yun on a road behind the Golden Hao Hotel. After that, he drove her around for a while and came to a quiet place by the Clear Spirit River. Parking the car by the road, Wang Haoren brought Jiang Yun for a stroll by the river. Chapter 546. Wang Haoren and Jiang Yun walked side by side on the path by the river. The breeze by the river blew on their bodies, making them feel particularly comfortable. However, Jiang Yun's expression was silent. She was not in the mood to enjoy the beautiful feeling of the breeze. After Wang Haoren and Jiang Yun walked quietly for a while, he asked the obvious, "I saw your match today. You clearly won 2 rounds first, and you also had the advantage in the first 3 rounds. Why did you make so many mistakes?" Jiang Yun paused and was extremely nervous. She grabbed the corner of her clothes and did not know how to answer. Wang Haoren asked with a face full of self-blame, "Is it because of what I said to you? That's why you purposely went easy on him during the competition, right?" No, I didn't perform well. It has nothing to do with you," Jiang Yun said in a low voice. Hearing this, Wang Haoren could not help but sigh with emotion. What a good girl. She's afraid that I'll feel guilty, so she'd rather keep it to herself. As they walked, they suddenly passed by grassland. Wang Haoren said, "Let's sit over there for a while." Jiang Yun nodded. The two of them came to a grassland by the river. Wang Haoren suddenly took off his coat. Jiang Yun subconsciously looked at Wang Haoren. At this time, Wang Haoren was only wearing a t-shirt. His arms were firm and powerful, but they were not exaggerated at all. They were just right. The strong figure wrapped in the t-shirt was also somewhat faintly discernible. It could be vaguely seen that he had a good figure. Jiang Yun was taken aback. She thought that Wang Haoren was quite thin, but she did not expect him to have such a good figure. This is the typical kind of boy who looks thin in clothes, but has muscles when he takes them off, right? Jiang Yun thought to herself. "Sit." Wang Haoren spread his coat on the grass and gestured to Jiang Yun. His action just now was naturally intentional. Firstly, it was to show off his talent, and secondly, it was naturally to be a warm man. "There's no need. I'll just sit on the grass." Jiang Yun was flattered and quickly waved her hand. Wang Haoren was too lazy to argue with her. He directly pressed her shoulders and made her sit on the clothes. Jiang Yun cried out in panic, but she was not angry because of Wang Haoren's rude action. Instead, she was happy. Wang Haoren sat next to her on the grass and tilted his head. "You must be feeling terrible after losing the competition, right?" Jiang Yun frowned and nodded. "I've been learning Go since I was 6 years old. I spent almost all my childhood and adolescence playing Go. It can be said that all my energy was spent on Go. I've always dreamed of becoming the best Go player in the world. For the sake of this dream, I've worked very hard. I've sacrificed too much for this. But today, in such an important match, I lost." Jiang Yun spoke slowly, her tone filled with bitterness. Wang Haoren had experienced a similar state of mind when he was with Biansuan. He still remembered how he comforted Biansuan at that time. If he wanted to comfort Jiang Yun with words, it would not have any effect. Wang Haoren suddenly sighed and blamed himself. "It's all because of me. It has nothing to do with you. Don't think too much." Jiang Yun was obviously feeling terrible, but she comforted Wang Haoren instead. "It really has nothing to do with you?" Wang Haoren stared into Jiang Yun's eyes. Jiang Yun only felt that this pair of eyes seemed to see through her heart. In a panic, she quickly looked away. "I said it has nothing to do with you." Jiang Yun lowered her head and emphasized again. "Look into my eyes and tell me again," Wang Haoren said. Jiang Yun was helpless. She turned her gaze from the grass to Wang Haoren's face again. "It really has nothing to do with you." Jiang Yun continued to repeat what she just said. But before she could finish, her mouth was blocked. In an instant, Jiang Yun felt her body stiffen, and she was at a loss of what to do. But soon, she could not help but immerse herself in it. After a while, Jiang Yun was able to breathe. She took in a big breath of fresh air. Her face was as red as an apple, and she did not dare to look at Wang Haoran. Wang Haoran held Jiang Yun's head and made her look at him. He said slowly, "You have lost the match, but I will not let you lose anything else." "What do you mean by that?" Jiang Yun was overjoyed, but she was still in disbelief. "What I mean is, do you mind having a boyfriend from the fire country?" Wang Haoran asked with a smile. "Didn't you say that your parents and friends don't like people from Korea? Are you really willing to let me be your girlfriend?" Jiang Yun asked with concern. "You even gave up your dream because of me. How can I let you down? Moreover, if my parents and friends know about this, they will not hate you. You don't have to worry so much," Wang Haoran said. Jiang Yun nodded her head heavily. Her furrowed brows relaxed, and all her worries vanished into thin air. "Appa, Serengio." In her excitement, Jiang Yun suddenly said a sentence in her mother tongue. Although Wang Haoran did not know much Korean, but he still knew the most basic sentences. He made a heart gesture to Jiang Yun, and said, "Serengio, ding." The host has won the heart of the female lead. Jiang Yun received 700 villain points. Jiang Yun's eyes curved into crescents. Wang Haoran was tempted and stuck his head forward again. Jiang Yun understood and subconsciously closed her eyes. Her thick and dense eyelashes trembled slightly, and her face was slightly raised, showing the nervousness and anticipation in her heart. When it was close to evening, Wang Haoran and Jiang Yun left the riverside and sent her back to the Jinhao Hotel. Wang Haoran heaved a long sigh of relief. At this point, Qin Fan's stage to show off through the game of chess had been completely dismantled by himself. Jing Lu received the highest honor. Qin Fan couldn't possibly go challenge Jing Lu, right? There was no reason for that. Moreover, even if Qin Fan really went to challenge Jing Lu, it wouldn't attract much attention and wouldn't cause much of a stir. The Fire Country and Korea's top chess players had showdown. That was the real highlight. Qin Fan and Jing Lu were master and disciple. What was there to see in a showdown? Moreover, in the entire Fire Country, everyone thought Jing Lu was the #1 chess player. If Qin Fan went to challenge Jing Lu, wouldn't that put his disciple on the spot? Wang Haoran drove back to his villa, and when he reached home, he received a message from Qiu Qianwei. Qiu Qianwei wanted to cook again and invited him over for a meal. Wang Haoran naturally didn't object to that. He made a phone call to inform Feng Xuansu that he wouldn't be going back for dinner and immediately went to Lu Yu's villa. When he came to the villa, he pressed the doorbell. Soon, Tantai Yaiyue came to open the door and led Wang Haoran into the villa. On the way, Tantai Yaiyue suddenly said to Wang Haoran, "I want to tell Wei Wei about us, but I'm afraid she'll get angry and say I'm a shameless big sister. Why don't you tell her about it?" Chapter 547. If I tell her, wouldn't I be shameless? After hearing Tantai Yaoyue's words, Wang Haoran secretly thought, although he was indeed shameless. But this kind of thing, he couldn't take it on himself. I can't say it. If I say it, Wei Wei will definitely think that I'm not a good person, so it's better for you to say it. Wang Haoran said solemnly, "What are you afraid of? Wei Wei likes you so much. She will definitely be tolerant of you. Go, there won't be a problem." Tantai Yaoyue said patiently, "Then I'll tell her again during the new year. Wei Wei won't lose her temper during the new year, right? This way, the success rate will be higher." Wang Haoran said seriously. Tantai Yaoyue heard this and pouted. There was still a long time before the new year. She didn't want to drag it on for so long. "Forget it, I'll go," Tantai Yaoyue said helplessly. "Okay." Wang Haoran immediately nodded. While talking, the two also came to the living room. Qiu Qianwei and the others were all busy in the kitchen. Even Lu Yu, who used to be idle in the living room, was very virtuous. "You sit for a while, I'll go to the kitchen." Tantai Yaoyue naturally didn't want to fall behind. In the living room, only Wang Haoran was left. Looking at Qiu Qianwei and the others' formation, they must be preparing a table full of dishes. At this time, they definitely wouldn't be able to eat. Wang Haoren took out his phone and prepared to find Qin Yunhan or Su Muyin to play games to pass the time. However, he suddenly found that he was pulled into a WeChat group. The one who pulled him was Qin Yunhan. There weren't many people in the group. Including Wang Haoren, there were only 6 people. They were Qin Yunhan, Su Muyin, Mu Zhaozhao, Wen Jing, and Yu Shiqing. Next was Wang Haoren. Qin Yunhan and the other girls were close, so it was normal for them to join a group chat. But to be honest, Wang Haoren didn't want to join this group. If someone accidentally spilled the beans, they would be in big trouble. After the 6 groups of people were formed, Qin Yunhan and the others all came out and chatted with each other. They were having a good time talking about all sorts of things. Wang Haoren dived for a while and decided to remain silent. Soon, Qin Yunhan tagged him. Su Muyin and Mu Zhaozhao also joined in the fun and tagged him. Wang Haoren couldn't dive even if he wanted to, so he sent a smiley face emoji and continued to dive while watching Qin Yunhan and the others chat. Qin Yunhan, I'm going to sign up for a 7-day cruise during the holiday in a few days. Does anyone want to go with me? Mu Zhaozhao, isn't it good to stay at home during the holiday? It's so tiring to go out and have fun. Qin Yunhan, big sister, shut up. I'll definitely drag you along if I go. Mu Zhaozhao, you're too unreasonable. Disdainful emoji. Qin Yunhan, you just got to know me? Mu Zhaozhao, Su Min, it's rare for us to have such a long holiday. I want to travel too. Yu Shiqing, a 7-day cruise is very expensive, right? How much does it cost? Qin Yunhan, I'll pay for all the expenses. I can also ask my dad to help us get the visas done as soon as possible. It's not a problem. Qin Yunhan, me, Zhao Zhao, and Mu Yin are already 3. What about Shiqing and Jingjing? Yu Shiqing, I'll go too. Wen Jing, if everyone is going, then I'll go too. Qin Yunhan, hey, the only guy in the group, are you going? Wang Haoren, I have something to do, so I won't go. Qin Yunhan, okay then. I hope we won't meet any hooligans on the cruise ship. Otherwise, it'll be terrible. Looking at these sarcastic words, Wang Haoren couldn't help but feel a little speechless. In Qin Yunhan's group, there were a total of 4 heroines. If they suddenly went on a trip together, who knew if it would attract the attention of the main character? Wang Haoren didn't reply in the group. Instead, he sent a private message to Qin Yunhan and the others one by one, telling them not to go on the trip. Wen Jing agreed, but Qin Yunhan and the other heroines all said that they wanted Wang Haoren to spend the holiday with them alone. Otherwise, they would go on a trip. Wang Haoren didn't agree to anyone's request. Also, there was something wrong with this situation. Did he trigger some plot? Otherwise, with Qin Yunhan and the others' favorability towards him, they would definitely listen to him. But now, for some reason, they wanted to go on a trip together. Obviously, something was wrong. Wang Haoren had no choice but to reply in the group. Count me in, I'll go too. Qin Yunhan, okay, then everyone agrees. Smiley face, Su Muyin, Mu Zhaozhao, and the others all had their own thoughts and sent some happy emojis. Wang Haoren didn't continue reading the messages in the group. Instead, he started to think about some problems. He finally understood something. As long as Qin Yunhan and the others' heroine aura was still there, the plot would inevitably be triggered. If there were 1 or 2 of them, it would be fine. But if there were too many of them, there would be no time to take care of them. He could guard this side, but he couldn't guard the other side. If he didn't want them to trigger the plot, he would have to make them lose their heroine aura. And Wang Haoren already knew how to do that. It was just that this was a rather difficult process. But other than that method, there was no other way. Anyway, with 200 years of true qi protecting his body and the pills he ate to strengthen his body, his foundation was quite solid. Wang Haoren became alert. Before, he was still too lazy. After about an hour, it was finally time to eat. The 8 of them sat in the dining room and started to eat. Wang Haoren brought a bottle of red wine over and poured himself a few glasses. When he felt that it was enough, he pretended to be drunk. After the meal, Wang Haoren staggered back to his mansion. How could Qiu Qianwei be at ease? She simply let him sleep in the only guest room. Wang Haoren naturally agreed. After he went to the guest room, he lay down and pretended to be asleep. Tantai Yaoyue called Qiu Qianwei to her room and said nervously, "Seventh sister, I want to talk to you about something." "What is it?" Seeing her eldest sister acting so mysteriously, Qiu Qianwei couldn't help but be curious. Tantai Yaoyue felt that it was a bit hard to say. After hesitating, she still told her about a certain person walking into the wrong room in the middle of the night. After Qiu Qianwei heard this, she was stunned for a while and then questioned, "Eldest sister, you can't not be able to differentiate between a dream and reality, right?" Tantai Yaoyue felt guilty and didn't dare to look directly at Qiu Qianwei's eyes. I had the intention to acquiesce, but it was just a moment of hot-headedness. I really didn't mean to steal him from you." "Eldest sister, do you like him a lot?" Qiu Qianwei looked deeply at Tantai Yaoyue and asked. Tantai Yaoyue nodded heavily. "If I didn't like him, when he touched the door, I definitely would have slapped him into the wall." After muttering, she carefully said, "Seventh sister, will you forgive me? Of course, I understand the principle of first come, first serve. If you agree, you will be my elder sister in the future? Then shout for me to hear." Qiu Qianwei said expectantly. "Elder sister?" Tantai Yaoyue softly called, completely losing her usual dignity as the eldest sister. Qiu Qianwei nodded seriously and then held her stomach as she laughed loudly. In all her life, this was the first time she had seen her eldest sister reveal such a timid expression. Tantai Yaoyue felt even more embarrassed, but was even more puzzled and surprised. "Seventh sister, does this count as accepting me? What else?" Qiu Qianwei asked back. "You're not angry?" Tantai Yaoyue was surprised. "What is there to be angry about? I'm already used to it. Third sister, second sister, and fifth sister, I've already accepted them all. Why can't I accept eldest sister?" Qiu Qianwei asked with a smile. "What? There's also them." Tantai Yaoyue was both shocked and stunned, her voice raised by who knew how many decibels. Chapter 548. Hearing that high decibel voice, Qiu Qianwei felt pain in her eardrums and subconsciously covered her ears, muttering, "Big sister, can you lower your voice? My ears are almost going to go deaf." "What you meant just now was that Suin, Qing Xian, and Ye also have that kind of relationship with Haren?" Tantai Yaoyue asked in disbelief. "Yes." Qiu Qianwei nodded. "Heavens, this guy really has some ability." Tantai Yaoyue gritted her teeth. This kind of feeling was like a few beautiful cabbages in one's garden had been eaten by a pig that had barged in. And the key was that she also liked this pig and could not do anything to him. "Wei Wei, your heart is too big. You can even accept this?" Tantai Yaoyue asked in shock. "Third sister, second sister, and him all have their own stories. I sympathized with them and naturally accepted. Later, fifth sister also joined in. I thought that since I had accepted third sister and second sister, if I didn't accept fifth sister, then I would be too biased." Qiu Qianwei suddenly paused and continued. "That's right. Now it's you again. To be honest, I already felt that you were overly concerned about him. I had a feeling so when you suddenly said this to me, I didn't feel too surprised." Tantai Yaoyue was silent for a moment, then asked, "What is the situation between him, Suin and Qing Xian? Tell me." Qiu Qianwei immediately told Tantai Yaoyue the story of Bian Suin and Luo Qing Xian. After Tantai Yaoyue heard, she was stunned for a long time, clearly feeling that this was too strange. And if she asked herself, if she stood in Qiu Qianwei's position, she would also accept them. After all, they were sisters. How could she bear to see them sad? Besides, they were family anyway. This guy is too despicable. Tantai Yaoyue could not help but feel a bit resentful. Originally, she thought that it was just her and Qiu Qianwei, but now there are 3 more people. "Big sister, if you don't want to join in, it's fine," Qiu Qianwei said. "That won't do. You already agreed. You can't go back on your words." Tantai Yaoyue was anxious. After saying this, she suddenly felt a bit ashamed. Qiu Qianwei snickered. "Then according to first come, first serve, shouldn't I be last?" Tantai Yaoyue suddenly realized the problem. "Exactly," Qiu Qianwei teased. Tantai Yaoyue was a bit depressed. Big sister had become little sister. The difference was too big. Fei Yin and Shui Yao have nothing to do with him, right? Tantai Yaoyue asked. "No." Tantai Yao Yu shook her head. That's good. Tantai Yao Yu let out a sigh of relief, as if rejoicing that they had not been completely wiped out. Actually, I was wondering if I should pull fourth sister and sixth sister in. That way, the seven of us won't have to be separated, Qiu Qianwei said half-jokingly. Where does his charm come from? Does he really think that everyone will fall for him? Wei Wei, you think too highly of him. Tantai Yao Yu said with disdain. You're right. I was just joking. Qiu Qianwei laughed out loud. Then, she suddenly said in a strange tone, You're right. How about I call the big sisters over so you can officially meet them? Tantai Yao Yu did not immediately react. After a few seconds, she finally understood the meaning behind Qiu Qianwei's words. She shook her head and said, Don't tell them for now. Let your big sister take a breather. We're in private right now. What do you call yourself? Qiu Qianwei blinked. Tantai Yao Yu was stunned for a bit before squeezing out a shy smile. Big sister, can you not tell them for now? Since little sister says this, then big sister will promise you. Qiu Qianwei's face was serious. After a few seconds, she lost control and laughed out loud again. Tantai Yao Yu's face turned red from her laughter, and her heart felt strange. When they were young, she always used her big sister's prestige to suppress them. Was this retribution now? The youngest Qiu Qianwei had become the oldest big sister. Late at night, it was time to sleep. Someone slipped out of the guest room and quietly snuck into room 1. Ding! The host has stolen the female lead Qiu Qianwei. Obtained 1,400 villain points. Qiu Qianwei female lead aura -40. Qin Fan protagonist aura -70. The host villain aura +110. Ding! Qiu Qianwei's female lead aura points have dropped to 0. The female lead aura has lost its effect, and she has lost her status as the female lead. Ding! Qiu Qianwei's affection towards the host has increased by 5. Current affection is 100, life and death together. The 3 consecutive system notifications made Wang Haoran's spirits rise. After fighting for so long, this was the first time a female lead had lost her status as the female lead. After losing the female lead aura, Qiu Qianwei would no longer be randomly pulled into a main character storyline. And the 3rd notification made Wang Haoran see a ray of hope. From this notification, he could tell that after losing the female lead aura, it was surprisingly easy to get affection. When the affection was full, the benefits were self-evident. Lu Yin was a very good example. When they were at the Academy of Arts, Lu Yin misunderstood that Wang Haoran was interested in Ling Nanxiu. She even said that she could ask Ling Nanxiu for his contact information. She even helped him chase girls. She was so sensible that it made one's heart ache. If everyone was like Lu Yin, would there be a need to hide it every day? They could just lay their cards on the table. Of course, for now, this goal was still a bit far away. After all, he had been with Qiu Qianwei for so long before she lost her status as the female lead. But this was undoubtedly a very good start. Wang Haoran rested for a while and walked out of room 1. However, he did not return to the guest room. It was not until dawn that he returned to the guest room. After breakfast, Wang Haoran went to class. During the first class in the morning, Wang Haoran rested on his desk and easily fell into a deep sleep. After about an hour, the fatigue of not sleeping for an entire night was swept away and he was energized. This was the benefit of 200 years' worth of true qi. After Jing Lu received the honor, he did not stay in Qingling for long. He stayed for 2 days and left for another city. Wang Haoran originally planned to trick Jing Lu, but when he realized that he was leaving Qingling, he gave up on the idea. After all, Jing Lu was just a side character, not the female lead. Wang Haoran could easily guess that in Qin Fan's main storyline, Jing Lu didn't appear in many scenes. It was likely that he only appeared in the chess match scene. Jing Lu's existence was necessary to set up a stage for Qin Fan. To put it bluntly, he was just a tool. But because Wang Haoran changed the direction of the plot, Jing Lu won. The stage that was set up for Qin Fan in the storyline had been torn down. In Qin Fan's main storyline, Jing Lu probably wouldn't appear again. Wang Haoran naturally did not need to cause any more trouble. Chapter 549. A few days later, the anniversary holiday arrived. Wang Haoran, Qin Yunhan, and the others boarded a cruise ship as promised. They were ready to embark on a 7-day overseas trip. The rooms on the cruise ship were an inner cabin, a balcony room, and a sea view room. The inner cabin had no windows, but it had all the basic facilities. It was the cheapest room type. The sea view room had windows, but they couldn't be opened. Other than being able to enjoy the sea view, it wasn't much different from the inner cabin. The balcony room was luxuriously decorated. It had a walk-in balcony. One could walk out of the room to enjoy the sea view and breathe in the fresh air. Hence, it was the most expensive. Qin Yunhan was rich and overbearing. She booked 3 double balcony rooms. Qin Yunhan and Su Muyan stayed in the same room. Mu Zhaozhao and Wen Jing stayed in the same room. Wang Haoran stayed alone. After boarding the cruise ship, Qin Yunhan and the others put their luggage away. Then, they all went to Wang Haoran's room. At this time, the cruise ship had just set sail. The scenery outside was just some buildings on both sides of the Qingling River. There wasn't much to see. Everyone gathered together, trying to find something to pass the time. Why don't we play Fight the Landlord? Mu Zhaozhao suggested. There are 6 of us. How can we play Fight the Landlord? Why don't we play a mobile game called PUBG? I'll take you to PUBG, Qin Yunhan said excitedly. Take us to PUBG. Don't you know how lousy you are? Su Muyan rolled her eyes at her. Then she suggested, let's play King of Glory. I'll take you to PUBG. Qin Yunhan returned a look of disdain to Su Muyan. King of Glory can only be a 5-person team. There are 6 of us. You 5 team up. I'll watch you play, Wang Haoran immediately said. He was afraid that Qin Yunhan and the others would start gossiping because they had nothing better to do. So, when he heard Su Muyan's suggestion to play King of Glory, he naturally agreed. After the discussion, Su Muyan and the others began to team up and play the game. The girls quickly immersed themselves in the game and didn't have time to chat about anything else. Wang Haoran used his X-ray vision to scan the people on the cruise ship, trying to find the guy who might be the protagonist. However, there were still many people on the cruise ship. It wasn't easy to find the protagonist. Wang Haoran watched for a while, but he didn't notice anyone special. Instead, he saw a few familiar faces. It was too difficult to tell who the main character was based on appearance alone. He couldn't possibly waste his villain points to check them one by one. In that case, he might be able to find a main character, but that would undoubtedly cost him a lot of villain points. If things went wrong, even after fleecing the main character of this plot, it wouldn't be enough to cover the cost. Wang Haoran naturally wouldn't do such a foolish thing. Noon. Somewhere on the cruise ship, Lu Hua, Lu Ming, and Wei Zhihong each brought their girlfriends to the restaurant for lunch. The few of them chatted and laughed as they walked side by side. They walked slowly, and some of them even blocked the path. There was a man behind them who had some urgent matters to attend to, so he spoke to them. "Excuse me, can you let me through?" Lu Hua and the others turned around and looked at the person who spoke. "Oh, it's you, Yang." Wei Zhihong recognized this person and couldn't help but smile. When Yang Yi saw him, his whole face sank. He was Wei Zhihong's classmate, and the two had some conflicts. And the reason was very simple. That is, Wei Zhihong's girlfriend used to be Yang Yi's. However, Yang Yi's girlfriend despised the poor and loved the rich. Faced with the pursuit of the rich second-generation Wei Zhihong, she couldn't resist and dumped Yang Yi for Wei Zhihong. Yang Yi was naturally very unhappy about this. However, he had no money, no power, and his family was very ordinary. How could he offend Wei Zhihong? Being poached, he could only silently endure it. Moreover, it was said that the two people beside Wei Zhihong were also rich second generation, known as the Qingling Third Young Master. The Qingling Third Young Master also had a boss, the school hunk of Qingling University, Wang Haoran. His family had tens of billions of assets, and he was a super rich second generation. Yang Yi couldn't afford to offend this group of people. He avoided the gaze of Wei Zhihong and his ex-girlfriend and prepared to walk past them. Wei Zhihong moved sideways to block Yang Yi. "Why are you in such a hurry to leave? Let's talk." Wei Zhihong said, "I have nothing to talk about with you." Yang Yi's face was cold. How can there be nothing to talk about? For example, talk about Cece, and exchange ideas on how to use it. Wei Zhihong smiled with a wretched face. Cece was Yang Yi's ex-girlfriend and Wei Zhihong's current girlfriend. Hearing Wei Zhihong's words, Yang Yi suddenly clenched his teeth, and his eyes were about to spit fire. "Oh, I'm sorry, I'd almost forgot. I just got first place last night, and you didn't use it at all." Wei Zhihong pretended to be enlightened and slapped his forehead. Then, in front of Yang Yi, he made a move on Cece. Cece didn't push him away, and instead, she seemed to be playing along. Yang Yi saw this, and the anger in his heart rose infinitely. When he was with Cece, Cece was very aloof, and it was difficult to even hold her hand. Cece had only been with Wei Zhihong for a few days, and it had already developed to that point. What a bitch. Yang Yi wanted to kill Wei Zhihong at this moment, but he still kept some sense in his heart. This was a legal society, and there was a price to pay for doing such things. If there were no legal restrictions, then it would be great. Yang Yi thought in his heart, and there was some murderous intent in his heart. His eyes became a little fierce. Wei Zhihong saw Yang Yi's eyes and felt a little uncomfortable. "Why are you staring at me like that? Are you unhappy? Hit me?" Wei Zhihong took a few steps forward, reached out, and patted Yang Yi's face, and gradually used more force. In the end, he directly slapped Yang Yi. Yang Yi couldn't bear it, and in a rage, he directly punched Wei Zhihong. Wei Zhihong was in pain and wrestled with Yang Yi. Yang Yi's physique was strong, and Wei Zhihong was lazy and neglected training, so he was no match for Yang Yi. However, Wei Zhihong had two helpers. Lu Hua and Lu Ming saw their brother being bullied and immediately went to help. Although Yang Yi's strength was great, 2 fists were no match for 6 hands, and he was beaten black and blue. Some passers-by saw this and were afraid that something big would happen and immediately went to inform the security. The security rushed over and immediately stopped them. The captain of the cruise ship also rushed over and was ready to mediate the conflict between the two sides. After understanding the situation and knowing that it was Wei Zhihong and others who started it, he wanted to go to the next dock and drive Wei Zhihong and others ashore according to the management regulations. But before he could say anything, Wang Haoren and others who were going to the restaurant passed by this place. "Isn't this young Master Wang?" "Hello, hello." The captain suddenly came in front of Wang Haoren and greeted him with a flattering face. Chapter 550. "You are." Seeing this unfamiliar face, Wang Haoren asked doubtfully. "My surname is Wan, and I am the captain of this cruise ship. We met once when I had a meal with your father. Have you forgotten?" The male captain, who was about 50 years old, explained with a smile. Wang Haoren had no impression of him, but after hearing him say this, he pretended to be enlightened with an "oh," indicating that he remembered. "Boss, you are here too." Wei Zhihong, Lu Hua, and Lu Ming shouted excitedly. When Wang Haoren just used his X-ray vision, he found Lu Hua and his 2 brothers. When he saw them at this time, he didn't feel strange at all. The heroine and the villain were on the ship, so the protagonist must be there too. Thinking of this, Wang Haoren subconsciously looked at a guy with a bruised nose and swollen face next to him. Wei Zhihong and the others' clothes were crooked, and they seemed to have been in a fight. After looking at the surrounding situation and combining this analysis, Wang Haoren could guess that this person should have been beaten up by Wei Zhihong and the others. "Boss, we only brought 1 girlfriend. You are too amazing. You brought 5 at once." Wei Zhihong saw Qin Yunhan and others following behind Wang Haoren and suddenly said without thinking. Wang Haoren wanted to give him a big slap. This villain's underling is really brainless. Even if you think so in your heart, can you say it out loud? Isn't this deliberately hurting me? Don't talk nonsense. They're just my classmates. We have nothing to do with each other. Wang Haoren immediately made a statement. Qin Yunhan and Su Muyen had discussed it. They would not admit to having a relationship with Wang Haoren in front of others. After hearing this, they naturally wouldn't say anything. Yu Shiqing and Wang Haoren had an agreement to hide the fact that they were boyfriend and girlfriend. As for Wenjing, she was the least troublesome, and she wouldn't say anything. And indeed, Mu Zhaozhao and Wang Haoran did not have that kind of relationship. Young Master Wang, so you know them. When the captain heard the conversation between Wang Haoran and Wei Zhihong, the way he looked at Wei Zhihong and the others changed. Originally, he was going to drive Wei Zhihong and the others ashore, but now he changed his mind. Private fights are not allowed on the cruise ship, but since you're still students, I won't hold it against you. Don't let this happen again. After the captain dealt with the matter briefly, he asked a security guard to bring Yang Yi to the infirmary in the cabin. It was clear that he was prepared to let this matter go. However, Yang Yi was not convinced. How did you handle it? They were the ones who provoked me and even attacked me together. How did it become a private fight between us? If I say it's a private fight, then it's a private fight, the captain said coldly. Yang Yi clenched his fists. Previously, the captain's attitude was clearly to handle things impartially. But now he was directly shielding Wei Zhihong and the others. Yang Yi's gaze turned, and he could not help but look at Wang Haoran. It was all because of this person. If it was not for him, the captain would not have shielded them. Wang Haoran saw the hatred in Yang Yi's eyes, and he suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of helplessness. He did not say anything to the captain at all. What he wanted the captain to do was completely up to the captain. Of course, Wang Haoran did not intend to let the captain handle this matter. He was not a good person. There was no way to reconcile this kind of natural opposition. Wang Haoran communicated with the system, spent some villain points, and checked Yang Yi's information. Protagonist: Yang Yi. Combat strength 132, charm 78, protagonist aura 3867, skill Goldfinger Desert Island Survival System inactive. Just as Wang Haoran expected, this Yang Yi was indeed the protagonist. From Yang Yi's Goldfinger, the plot was already obvious. Wang Haoran could even come up with a name for this trick. For example, the days when I survived on a desert island with the campus beauties? Stranded on a desert island with the campus beauties? Those years when I survived on a desert island with the campus beauties? The main plot, Wang Haoran had already guessed. The cruise ship encountered an accident and suddenly sank. Yang Yi and the campus beauties were lucky not to die, and then arrived on a deserted island. The campus beauties were weak, and it was a problem for them to survive on a deserted island. But at this moment, Yang Yi's desert island survival system was activated. The rest of the plot could be guessed with a toe. Of course, maybe some people would think that the cruise ship was fine. How could it sink? The Titanic was known to be unsinkable, but in the end, Wang Haoran was sure that if the cruise ship continued to sail, there would definitely be problems. But for now, such a thing should not happen, because looking through the cabin window, one could still vaguely see some tall buildings in the city. If something happened to the cruise ship, they would definitely be rescued quickly. Moreover, there could not be any deserted islands around. The cruise ship should pass by an almost inaccessible place, then it would sink. However, Wang Haoran would definitely not let this happen. While Wang Haoran was sizing up Yang Yi was also sizing up Wang Haoran. Deep in Yang Yi's eyes, there was deep resentment and jealousy. The resentment was naturally because Wang Haoran and the captain were in cahoots, and they were on the same side. The jealousy was because of the 5 people following behind Wang Haoran. Among them, 4 of the campus beauties were famous, and there were photos on the forum, so Yang Yi naturally knew them. The other beauty was unfamiliar, but compared to the campus beauties, she was not much worse. When Yang Yi and Cece were together, it was not because of Cece's personality that he liked her, but because he wanted her body. Or to be precise, Yang Yi was lustful whenever he saw a beautiful girl. In the dead of night, Yang Yi often fantasized about the campus beauties. Unfortunately, they did not have much interaction, but now he actually saw them accompanying Wang Haoran, the rich second generation, on a trip. Yang Yi could be said to be jealous to death. He really wished that all the men in the world were dead, and only he and these beautiful girls were left. Wang Haoran saw the light in Yang Yi's eyes, and although he did not know what he was thinking, he knew that it was definitely not something good. But at this moment, in front of others, Wang Haoran could not do anything. Retracting his gaze from Yang Yi, Wang Haoran asked Wei Zhihong and the others about their rooms, and then went to the restaurant to eat with the girls. After lunch, Wang Haoran rested for a while, and then went to Wei Zhihong's room. Wang Haoran reached out and was just about to knock on the door. However, he heard a very subtle and strange sound coming from inside. The soundproofing of the door was actually very good, and normal people would not be able to hear it, but Wang Haoran's hearing was too good. Wei Zhihong brought his girlfriend out for a trip. As an experienced person, Wang Haoran naturally understood the reason for these movements. Seeing this, Wang Haoran wanted to go next door to find Lu Hua or Lu Ming and wait in their room, but these two people were very busy. Chapter 551. Wang Haoran had no choice but to go back to his room. He was going to find Wei Zhihong later. But after a few minutes in the room, there was a knock on the door. Wang Haoran got up and went to open the door. Qin Yunhan's figure appeared in front of him. Wang Haoran looked behind her and found that there was no one else. So he said, "Why did you suddenly come to me? I miss you, so I came to talk to you." Qin Yunhan said with a smile, "I'm so sleepy. I'm going to take a nap." Wang Haoran yawned. Qin Yunhan pursed her lips and suddenly jumped into the room. She closed the door and then walked closer to Wang Haoran. After a while, Qin Yunhan took a step back and looked Wang Haoran up and down. She said mischievously, "You're obviously very energetic." Wang Haoran was a little depressed. Qin Yunhan was getting bolder and bolder. However, Wang Haoran still had something to do and didn't want to give any response, so he reminded her, "Muyin will definitely look for you when she finds that you're missing. She's taking a nap. She won't wake up for a while." Qin Yunhan said. "Knock, knock." As soon as he finished speaking, there was a knock on the door. Wang Haoran didn't open the door immediately. Instead, he looked at it with his X-ray vision. It was none other than Su Muyin. The three of them knew each other's background. Naturally, it didn't matter whether they kept it a secret or not. Moreover, Wang Haoran really wanted Su Muyin to take Qin Yunhan away. Thinking of this, Wang Haoran went directly to open the door. "What are you doing here secretly?" Su Muyin walked in and looked at Qin Yunhan mischievously. "Can't I have a chat?" Qin Yunhan curled her lips. "I don't believe you." Su Muyin looked at her suspiciously. "I think you were just jealous of me. I deliberately came to make trouble. There were no outsiders here." Qin Yunhan was too lazy to pretend. "Why should I be jealous of you? It's really funny." Su Muyin's heart was sour, but she didn't show it on the surface. Instead, she pretended to be disdainful. "Don't think that I don't know. You haven't reached that step yet." Qin Yunhan exposed her. "Have you been watching over me every day? Do I have to tell you what I did?" Su Muyin retorted. "All right then, I'll let you have him. You can demonstrate." Qin Yunhan sneered and sat down on a stool in the room, ready to watch a good show. "Qin Yunhan, are you shameless? How are you going to demonstrate?" Su Muyin blushed. "Aren't we good sisters? Why are you shy? Sooner or later, we will be honest with each other." When Qin Yunhan said the word sisters, her tone was particularly strange. Su Muyin was a little speechless. Speaking of which, the problem Qin Yunhan mentioned may really be a matter of time. "Stop it. Go back." Wang Haoran stopped the two from continuing to bicker. He was still preparing to deal with Yang Yi. At this time, he had no time to deal with other things, and it was not appropriate. Maybe Yu Shiqing would suddenly come to him? After all, it was daytime. Hearing Wang Haoran's words, Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin went back to their rooms. Wang Haoran finally had some peace. But after a while, Su Muyin suddenly sent a message. "In your heart, am I not as good as Qin Yunhan?" "Of course not. Why would you think so?" Wang Haoran replied. Su Muyin, "Then why do you treat me differently from Qin Yunhan?" Wang Haoran was stunned for a moment before he understood what she meant. "It's just that there isn't a suitable opportunity," Wang Haoran consoled. Su Muyin was silent for a few minutes before she sent a message. Traveling together is not an opportunity. The amount of messages was a little overwhelming. Wang Haoran was shocked. Speaking of which, Su Muyin seemed to be the first female lead he met. But until now, Su Muyin was still that shouldn't be. Wang Haoran was moved and immediately wrote a message and sent it. "Okay." After Su Muyin saw the message, she nervously and expectantly replied with one word. Wang Haoran immediately checked the cruise's route. After confirming that there would not be any deserted islands on the route before tomorrow, he was relieved. Originally, he planned to solve this matter today, but now he planned to stay on the cruise for a night and carry out his plan the next day. But before that, he had to get some benefits first. Wang Haoran saw that Wei Zhihong was done with his work. He brought a bottle of red wine and went to look for him. First, he asked Wei Zhihong about his conflict with Yang Yi. After listening to him, Wang Haoran had a better understanding of Yang Yi's main plot. If he guessed correctly, when the cruise sank, Wei Zhihong would not die directly. Instead, he would drift to the same deserted island as Yang Yi. In that place, the so-called background and identity would be useless. Yang Yi could use the advantage of his system to punish Wei Zhihong without restraint. Among them, there should be Lu Hua and Lu Ming. Not to mention, he was also one of them. The final outcome of the villain in the main plot was definitely to be killed by Yang Yi on the deserted island. The deserted island lost contact with the outside world. There were no rules and restrictions, so Yang Yi naturally had no scruples. But his rank was a little high. He was not an ordinary rich second generation. Yang Yi could not handle him. Of course, Wang Haoran would not go to the deserted island to play. You go and treat Yang Yi to a drink. Say that you want to apologize to him. Wang Haoran handed the bottle of red wine he brought to Wei Zhihong. Boss, why should we give him face? Wei Zhihong was not very willing. Just go. Don't talk so much nonsense. Wang Haoran was too lazy to explain to him. Okay, I'll go. Wei Zhihong did not dare to refute. He asked, what if Yang Yi doesn't appreciate it? You go with Lu Hua and Lu Ming. If Yang Yi doesn't appreciate it, force him to drink. Wang Haoran instructed. Then he added, don't worry. All right, don't drink this wine. Boss, you put something in this wine. Wei Zhihong guessed something, and his eyes lit up. Wang Haoran did not answer. Instead, he took a wine glass in the room and poured himself a glass of wine. He then took a sip. Just remember, don't drink. Wang Haoran emphasized again. So you didn't put anything in? Wei Zhihong was disappointed. He left the room to find Lu Hua and Lu Ming. The three of them went together to the inner cabin to find Yang Yi. Yang Yi, I'm sorry for hitting you before. Let me give you a toast. After you drink this glass, our grievances will be written off. Wei Zhihong poured 2 glasses of wine and handed one of them to Yang Yi. Yang Yi took the glass and looked at the red wine in the glass thoughtfully. Wei Zhihong hid his displeasure and took a sip of wine. He raised his eyebrows and said, what's wrong? You don't want to give me face? Wang Haoran, who saw this scene with his X-ray vision, was amused by this stupid little brother's actions. I told this guy not to drink, but he still drank. Does he think that if I drink it, we'll be fine too? Yang Yi thought so too. Wei Zhihong was fine after drinking it. How can I be fine after drinking it? Yang Yi put the glass to his mouth and immediately drank a big mouthful of red wine. Chapter 552. Seeing this, Wei Zhihong drank the rest of the wine in the glass. Yang Yi also followed suit. Wei Zhihong was secretly happy, knowing that his mission was completed. He faked a smile and said goodbye to Yang Yi, then left with Lu Hua and Lu Ming. Yang Yi put on a fake smile as he watched them leave. After they left, the smile on his face disappeared, replaced by a strong sense of resentment. Ding detected that the host is poisoned. The desert island survival system is activated. Ding, the current activation progress is 1%, 2%, 100%. Ding, the desert island survival system has been activated. The system is given a novice gift pack. Do you want to use the advanced antidote in the novice gift pack to remove the poison? Yang Yi was stunned for a moment, then subconsciously replied with a yes. The next moment, the system sent a message again. Ding, the host used the advanced antidote successfully. The poison has been completely removed. Yang Yi breathed a sigh of relief, then studied the system. After a while, he understood the purpose of the system. Furthermore, from this system, he could foresee some extremely frightening things. If he activated the system, he would be the legendary chosen one. But the biggest use of the system was obviously to be used on a desert island. It was not hard to guess that this cruise ship would sink in an accident during the voyage, and he would be stranded on a desert island. There were hundreds of people on this cruise ship. If there was an accident, many would die. Should he tell the captain to find a way to return the cruise ship? Yang Yi's mind came up with this idea, but it was quickly extinguished. Wei Zhihong and the other rich kids deserved to die. Why should he save them? Why not just let them die? It was fine as long as he didn't die. He had no money and no power. He would be more popular on a desert island. Moreover, there were many beautiful girls on this cruise ship, especially the 4 school beauties. They were unbelievably beautiful. If they were stranded on a desert island with him, Yang Yi imagined it, and suddenly he couldn't control himself. In the city, there was no way he could catch up with them, especially Qin Yunhan. It was said that her father was a real estate tycoon in Qingling. Under normal circumstances, such a rich girl would not have anything to do with him. But if they were on a desert island, it would be a different story. Her identity as a rich girl didn't work at all. Although Su Muyin, Yu Shiqing, and Mu Zhaozhao didn't have a strong background, they were still goddesses. It was impossible for ordinary boys to catch up with them. If they were all stranded on a deserted island, their survival would definitely be a problem. At that time, they would have to rely on themselves. Yang Yi thought for a while and became more and more excited. He made up his mind to pretend that nothing had happened and let the cruise ship sail. He did not know the other people on the ship. What did it have to do with him whether they lived or died? As long as Qin Yunhan and the others were fine, it was fine. In any case, the system had given him a newbie gift pack, which contained many survival skills and knowledge. This included the super swimming skill. As long as they were prepared in advance, it wouldn't be difficult to save them when the cruise ship was about to sink. After thinking it through, Yang Yi was suddenly filled with hope. In another room, Wang Haoren stared blankly at the system messages he had just received. Ding! Host manipulated behind the scenes, causing Yang Yi to lose his manhood. Received 2,800 villain points, minus 140 protagonist aura. Host villain aura, plus 140. Ding! Yang Yi's manhood has been restored. Host gained 2,800 villain points, minus 140 villain aura. Yang Yi's protagonist aura, plus 140. Ding! Host manipulated behind the scenes, indirectly causing Yang Yi's deserted island survival system to be activated in advance, affecting the direction of the plot. Received 2,000 villain points. Drugging was getting more and more difficult. Wang Haoren cursed inwardly. Linimo was like this before. After drugging him and causing him to lose his manhood, he recovered it after a while. This Yang Yi was even faster, recovering his manhood as soon as he lost it. The reward that Wang Haoren had just received flew away before he could even warm it up. The physical method was much more reliable, but the consolation was that he still received 2,000 villain points. Wang Haoren used his X-ray vision and found Yang Yi's room to see his reaction. At this time, Yang Yi was dancing with joy. He was in the excitement of activating the system. Looking at him, it was obvious that he had deduced from the system that something would happen to the cruise ship during the voyage. But Yang Yi did not want to stop the cruise ship from continuing. Instead, he was celebrating on his own. Wang Haoren wanted to tell him, "You're the F***king protagonist. Where's your sense of justice? Shouldn't you stop the plot now?" But after a few seconds of this thought, he suddenly felt that he was too naive. Yang Yi was the protagonist, but this mentality was normal. A protagonist who could survive on a deserted island could not be a good person. In a place without civilization and rules, a kind and timid protagonist would not be able to live peacefully. Just the environment alone was enough to torture people. Of course, some deserted island protagonist plots looked quite happy, but Yang Yi was obviously not one of them. Wang Haoren had speculated before that in Yang Yi's plot, Wei Zhihong and some other villains would not drown, but would be stranded on the same deserted island as Yang Yi. Without the restraint of civilization's rules, Yang Yi would definitely kill Wei Zhihong and others, and even use cruel methods to torture them. After all, what Wei Zhihong did was indeed too easy to arouse the hidden demon in Yang Yi's heart. If a protagonist with such a plot was a good person, it would be too unreasonable. Selfishness and ruthlessness were Yang Yi's inner character. There were at least 700 to 800 people on the cruise ship, including the tourists and staff. If the cruise ship had an accident, those characters would definitely be dead. Optimistically, at least 300 to 400 people would be dead, right? These were all lives, but Yang Yi was completely indifferent and even celebrated in advance. Yang Yi, the protagonist, must not be left alive. For this kind of deserted island protagonist to trigger the deserted island plot, too many people would be buried with him. He was simply a jinx protagonist. Of course, in order to reduce some trouble, it was best to create an accident for Yang Yi. But before creating an accident, it was still necessary to get as much wool as possible. With this in mind, Wang Haoren opened his X-ray vision and observed Yang Yi's movements. After Yang Yi was happy for a while, he suddenly felt a little thirsty, so he left the room and went to the place where water was fetched on the cruise ship. At the same time, Yu Shiqing also left the room. She was holding a cup in her hand and seemed to be going to fetch water. Wang Haoren also left the room. Yang Yi whistled and came to the place where water was fetched. After fetching water, he was ready to leave, but he saw Yu Shiqing coming. Yang Yi could only feel his blood boiling as he swallowed his saliva in secret when he saw her off the charts and her perfect figure. Chapter 553. Yang Yi's gaze made Yu Shiqing frown. Hello, my name is Yang Yi. I'm also a freshman at Qingling University. Yang Yi took the initiative to introduce himself. Yu Shiqing ignored him as if she didn't hear him. She went to get the water. Yang Yi was left alone. He was a little embarrassed, but he soon felt relieved. Now, this campus belle was pretending to be arrogant. When they arrived at the deserted island, it would be time for her to beg him. At that time, she would be in trouble. Yang Yi thought so and couldn't help but smile. He looked at Yu Shiqing's back, his face full of desire. He couldn't wait for the cruise ship to crash so that he could go to the deserted island with Yu Shiqing and the other campus belle. Unfortunately, this matter couldn't be controlled. He could only wait for the accident to happen. After Yu Shiqing got the water, she was ready to leave. At this time, Wang Haoren came to her. He was holding a cup in his hand. It seemed that he was going to get the water too. Wang Haoren, what a coincidence. Are you here to get the water too? Yu Shiqing kept a distance and greeted Wang Haoren. Yeah. Wang Haoren smiled and pinched her face. Yu Shiqing was shocked. Yang Yi was the same. Wang Haoren didn't care at all. Instead, he pressed Yu Shiqing against the wall and lowered his head slightly. Yu Shiqing was shocked, but she still closed her eyes subconsciously. Yang Yi looked at the scene in front of him. His eyeballs almost fell to the ground. The fire of jealousy in his heart kept rising. Ding! The host damaged Yang Yi's mentality. Received 1,400 villain points. Yang Yi's protagonist, aura, -70. Host's villain, aura, +70. Wang Haoren happily accepted the reward. At the same time, he continued to feel the indescribable tenderness for a while. After dozens of breaths, Yu Shiqing could breathe normally. Her face was red and her heart was beating surprisingly fast. She stared at Wang Haoren's eyes. There was tenderness, shyness, but more than that, there was doubt. Didn't they agree? Don't reveal our relationship in front of others. Yang Yi was from Qingling University. Wasn't Wang Haoren's action directly telling Yang Yi that the two of them were a couple? What if this Yang Yi went to school and spread rumors? Wouldn't those girls who liked her boyfriend target her? Yu Shiqing couldn't help but worry. I couldn't help myself. That's too bad. Wang Haoren pretended to blame himself and explain his actions. It's okay. Feeling the lingering warmth on her lips, Yu Shiqing shook her head indifferently. To be honest, she could have objected just now, but she didn't say anything and didn't do anything to stop him. How could she blame him for this? Don't worry. Let me handle it. Wang Haoren comforted Yu Shiqing, then looked at Yang Yi, whose eyes were filled with jealousy, and said lightly, Don't worry. Let me handle it. You didn't see anything that happened just now. Do you understand what I mean? Yang Yi was very unhappy when he heard this, but he didn't dare to show it on the surface. Instead, he cooperated and said, I know, I won't say anything. After responding, Yang Yi was puzzled for a moment. In Qingling University, he had never heard news that Yu Shiqing had a boyfriend. However, The interaction between Wang Haoran and Yu Shiqing just now clearly showed that they were a couple, and Wang Haoran warned him not to say anything. It was obvious that he intended to hide this matter. Could it be that this Wang Haoran had a relationship with other campus belles, or wanted to pursue other campus belles? So he specifically warned him not to say anything about Yu Shiqing? Otherwise, why would he do this? Yang Yi thought so, and felt that this was more likely. Moreover, he put himself in Wang Haoran's shoes and thought that if he were in Yu Shiqing's shoes, he would definitely have thoughts about other campus belles. Only by remaining single on the surface could he better pursue others. You can go. After receiving Yang Yi's response, Wang Haoran waved his hand at Yang Yi and made a gesture to drive him away. On the surface, Yang Yi didn't dare to provoke Wang Haoran, so he naturally left with his tail between his legs. But in his heart, he was even more jealous of Wang Haoran. Time passed quietly, and it was late at night. Except for some staff members on the cruise ship, everyone else had basically fallen asleep. However, Yang Yi didn't sleep. Instead, he went to the corridor near the balcony room and observed. On both sides of the corridor in his field of vision, there were some balcony rooms. Yang Yi had inquired that Wang Haoran and the campus belles lived here, and their rooms were connected. On the surface, Wang Haoran seemed to live alone in a room, but Yang Yi was sure that if he continued to observe, he would definitely find something. Sure enough, at midnight, the door of Qin Yunhan and Su Muyan's room suddenly opened, and Su Muyan walked out. Su Muyan tiptoed, like a thief, to the door of Wang Haoran's room, gently pushed open the half-closed door, and then walked in. Yang Yi secretly watched this scene. His hand clenched the wall of the corridor, his nails scratching the wall, making a harsh sound. Ding! The host caused Yang Yi's mentality to be damaged. Received 1,200 villain points. Qin Fan protagonist aura -60. Host villain aura +60. At this time, Su Muyan went to find Wang Haoran. It wasn't difficult to guess what it was about. Yang Yi suddenly felt that his precious thing was being robbed by someone else. He wanted to go forward and kick the door to stop it, but in the end, he restrained himself. They were still on a cruise ship, not on a deserted island. If he angered Wang Haoran, he would definitely not have a good ending. Su Muyan was so beautiful. So what if it was secondhand? It wasn't unacceptable. Yang Yi took a deep breath and kept comforting himself in his heart. But in his heart, the hatred for Wang Haoran increased by a few points. Yang Yi prayed that Wang Haoran would not drown when the cruise ship sank and drift to the deserted island. At that time, without the restraint of the civilized law, it would be time for revenge. Ding! The host stole the female lead Su Muyan for the first time. Received 2,500 villain points. Su Muyan female lead aura -125. Yang Yi protagonist aura -125. Host villain aura +250. Yang Yi waited in the corridor until 2 hours later. He saw Su Muyan come out of Wang Haoran's room. Ding! The host caused Yang Yi's mentality to be damaged. Received 2,000 villain points. Yang Yi protagonist aura -100. Host villain aura +100. 2 hours. Yang Yi's heart ached for Su Muyan, as if his heart was pierced by thousands of arrows. Su Muyan held the wall, like stepping on ants, and slowly returned to Qin Yunhan's room. Yang Yi's eyes were blood red, and he didn't feel sleepy at all. He wanted to tell Yu Shiqing about this matter. He wanted to let Yu Shiqing know what kind of person Wang Haoran was, so that she wouldn't be poisoned. But it was too late now, and Yu Shiqing was resting, so it was inconvenient to knock on the door to find her. Yang Yi returned to his room and waited until dawn. Chapter 554. Yang Yi saw that it was dawn outside and returned to the corridor on the balcony. He pretended to play with his phone, but his eyes were fixed on Yu Shiqing's door. About half an hour later, the door opened and Yu Shiqing walked out of it. Yu Shiqing locked the door and came to the corridor. Yang Yi pretended to be on the phone. Yu Shiqing ignored him and walked along the corridor towards the deck. Yang Yi followed Yu Shiqing from a distance and soon left the corridor. However, what Yang Yi didn't notice was that the moment he left, Wang Haoran came out of the room. Yang Yi stayed in the corridor for so long last night. How could Wang Haoran not notice? After that, Yang Yi went back to the room and waited until dawn. Wang Haoren noticed it. This guy was obviously angry when he saw Su Muyin enter his room. Wang Haoren thought for a moment and guessed his intention. Yang Yi was going to expose his relationship with Su Muyin to Yu Shiqing. How could Wang Haoren let him succeed? The night had passed, and the things that needed to be done were done. It was time to end this trip. Wang Haoren followed Yang Yi's direction. Yu Shiqing came to the deck. She leaned against the railing, breathing in the fresh air and looking at the sea. In addition to Yu Shiqing, there were some scattered people on the deck who also got up early to get some fresh air. Yang Yi came to Yu Shiqing's side. Hearing the footsteps, Yu Shiqing turned her head and saw Yang Yi. Thinking of the way Yang Yi looked at her, she felt a little uncomfortable, so she wanted to go back to her room. Wait a minute. Yu Shiqing, I have a secret to tell you. Yang Yi immediately stopped her. I'm not interested. Yu Shiqing replied coldly. It's about Wang Haoren. You're interested to know, right? Yang Yi said. Yu Shiqing stopped and looked at him in confusion. What do you want to say? Yu Shiqing was a little curious. Yang Yi didn't say it out loud. Instead, he asked, if I'm not mistaken, you and Wang Haoren are in a relationship, right? So what? Yu Shiqing didn't deny it. Yang Yi had seen their actions yesterday. There was no point in lying. Then do you know that other than you, she has other? Yang Yi was about to tell Yu Shiqing everything he found out last night, but Yu Shiqing suddenly stopped him. However, before he could finish his sentence, he felt an invisible hand pushing him, and his body flipped over the railing. With a splash, Yang Yi plunged headfirst into the sea. Yu Shiqing exclaimed. She leaned against the railing and looked around. Out of kindness, she immediately shouted. Someone fell into the water. Help! On the deck, some other people walked over curiously to take a look. However, this was the sea. Even if there were people who knew how to swim, they didn't dare to rashly go down to save people. Someone threw a life buoy at the spot where Yang Yi had fallen into the water and pressed the alarm to inform the sailors to come and rescue him. Wang Haoren slowly came to the deck from the corner of an aisle. Shiqing, what's going on? Wang Haoren came to Yu Shiqing's side and asked knowingly. I don't know what happened to Yang Yi. He seemed to have lost his balance or something and suddenly fell into the water. Yu Shiqing replied. Wang Haoren said, oh, to show that he understood. It's strange. Why didn't the young man flop? Someone around made a puzzled voice. This was the sea. Even if he didn't know how to swim, a flop could still delay a lot of time for rescue. However, after Yang Yi fell into the water, there was no movement at all. The deck is quite high from the water. Did he fall into the water and faint? Who knows? Some people on the deck began to discuss. In fact, Yang Yi didn't faint. He couldn't move at all. It was because the acupuncture points on his body were touched, causing him to be unable to move. Otherwise, Yang Yi, who had maxed out his survival skills, could swim on his own after falling into the sea. He could climb onto the cruise ship from somewhere on the edge of the cruise ship along the path. At this moment, the view on the surface of the water was blocked. Ordinary people couldn't see the situation under the water. Wang Haoren had X-ray vision, so he wasn't limited by this. He opened his X-ray vision and saw Yang Yi under the water. At this time, although Yang Yi couldn't move, he could still hold his breath. After the desert island survival system was activated, Yang Yi's swimming ability was super strong, including the ability to hold his breath. And because of the buoyancy of the sea, Yang Yi quickly floated up automatically with his face facing the sky. In this way, his breathing was not blocked. He just needed to wait for rescue. As expected of the protagonist, after being tricked by him, he could still easily get out of danger. However, Wang Haoren had dealt with the protagonist too many times. He knew that the protagonist wouldn't die so easily. Therefore, Wang Haoren was already prepared. Then, he quietly scattered the medicinal powder that he had prepared. The powder that was hard to see with the naked eye soon drifted to the sea. The sailors who received the news immediately rushed over, ready to go into the water to save him. Then at this moment, huge fins suddenly appeared on the surface of the sea. They saw the fins gliding across the sea, swimming quickly towards the cruise ship. And these fins were not just one or two, but dozens of them. Shark! Sharks! Sharks! What the hell? Why are there so many sharks? The sailors who were ready to go into the water to save people were scared out of their wits. They didn't dare to go into the water to save people. For a moment, they stayed by the railing, praying that the sharks were just passing by. Young man, don't move, or you'll be targeted by the sharks. An experienced old sailor reminded Yang Yi. Yang Yi couldn't move and couldn't see the situation around him. But after hearing the shout, he knew that there were sharks around. He was so scared that he peed. Inexplicably, he felt that he was pushed and fell into the sea. His body couldn't move. All kinds of strange situations made Yang Yi baffled. Now, there were sharks. Obviously, all of this was very abnormal. Yang Yi really wanted to figure out what was going on. However, reality didn't give him the chance. There was the sound of something cutting through the water. Out of the corner of his eye, he quickly caught a glimpse of some huge fins. Faintly, there was a bloody mouth opening next to him. A disgusting smell hit him in the face, making Yang Yi want to vomit. But Yang Yi didn't have time to feel it carefully. On the blue water surface, the red color instantly spread and dyed the entire surface of the sea red. Dozens of sharks swam in this red area. The scene was very shocking. Some of the timid people on the deck were so scared that they screamed. Chapter 555. Ding. The host manipulated behind the scenes, causing Yang Yi to be eaten by sharks. Reward: for 1,500 villain points. Wang Haoren successfully received a wave of rewards. The people who were leaning on the railing on the deck couldn't help but sympathize with the unlucky guy. But what they didn't know was that if the guy they sympathized with didn't die, the cruise ship would definitely be in trouble. Only if Yang Yi died and the plot couldn't be triggered, the cruise ship wouldn't be in trouble. After such a big incident happened, the captain also heard the news and checked the surveillance on the deck. After checking, he found that Yang Yi's body tilted and fell from the railing. Obviously, this was an accident. Some of the passengers on the ship, after learning about this incident, couldn't help but be affected. Wang Haoren didn't want to continue this boring journey. He took the opportunity to tell Qin Yunhan and the others that it was a bad omen for something like this to happen on the ship. Thus, he suggested that everyone return to Qin Yunhan, and the others didn't object. When the cruise ship arrived at the next port and docked, Wang Haoren and the others got off the ship. Then, they found a local hotel to stay in and took the high-speed train back to Qingling the next day. Actually, they could take a plane because it was faster. But Wang Haoren was cautious because of Yang Yi's incident, because he was afraid that they would meet another deserted island protagonist. The cruise ship took a long time to travel, so there were many opportunities to stop it. But there was no way to stop a plane in the sky. After all, the deserted island protagonist could only trigger the plot through two means of transportation, namely the cruise ship and the plane. Of course, there might be other ways to be stranded on a deserted island, but in Wang Haoren's memory, he only knew of these two ways. Anyway, it was always right to avoid it. Wang Haoren even made up his mind to not take a plane in the future. With his current ability, even if he encountered an accident on a cruise ship or other means of transportation, he would be safe and sound. But it was different with a plane. If something happened and he fell from a high altitude, 200 years of true qi wouldn't be of any use. He would most likely die. After all, he was only a martial artist, not an immortal cultivator. He had not reached the level where he could completely ignore gravity. Nothing special happened on the high-speed rail. Wang Haoren and the rest returned to Qingling safely. For the convenience of a live broadcast, Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin rented a luxuriously decorated house outside the school. Qin Yunhan was originally from a rich family. She did not lack money at all. Su Muyin became a super streamer of King of Kings. Not counting the gifts that Wang Haoren gave her, her monthly income was close to 10 million renminbi. She could be considered a rich woman. The two of them had no problem paying the rent at all. Mu Zhaozhao and Wenjing were still living in the school dormitory for the time being. However, Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin asked Mu Zhaozhao and Wenjing to live with them outside the school. Qin Yunhan and Mu Zhaozhao were very close. Su Muyin and Wenjing were best friends. Mu Zhao Zhao and Wen Jing calmly agreed. However, to live outside the school, they had to apply to the school. They needed to get the application before they could move out. Wang Haoren was not flustered at all when he heard this. Anyway, it was fine as long as Yu Shiqing did not move in. But to be honest, the possibility of Yu Shiqing moving in was almost non-existent. After all, Yu Shiqing's house was near Qingling University. There was no reason for her to move into Qin Yunhan's house. After returning to Qingling, Mu Zhaozhao and Wen Jing went to the school dormitory. Yu Shiqing went home. Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin went directly to the house outside the school. Was it fun to sneak out in the middle of the night? After arriving home, Qin Yunhan finally told Su Muyin what she had been hiding in her heart. What are you talking about? Su Muyin pretended not to understand. Stop pretending. Do you think I don't know that you ran out in the middle of the night on the cruise ship? And you said that you can't walk because you sprained your ankle. Do you think I will believe that? Qin Yunhan looked at her with a scrutinizing gaze. Su Muyin blushed. She knew that she could not pretend anymore, so she admitted it. Come on, we are on equal footing. You can find him, but I can't. Qin Yunhan was not angry. She just wanted to tease Su Muyin. After hearing her admit it, she asked mischievously, "What do you think?" Su Muyin had a strange look on her face. "Do you think we're watching a movie or reading a book? You're asking me what I think. It's not like you haven't tried it before. You tell me what I think." Su Muyin rolled her eyes. "I still have some medicine left from last time. Do you need it?" Qin Yunhan asked with a smile. "What medicine?" Su Muyin was confused. Qin Yunhan did not answer. Instead, she went to her room and came out with a bottle of ointment. She handed it to Su Muyin with a strange smile. Su Muyin was a little suspicious. She took it and read the effects. "Reduces swelling, relieves pain." After glancing at the words, Su Muyin immediately understood. She was a little embarrassed and wanted to throw the ointment at Qin Yunhan. However, she suddenly stopped in the middle of her action. To be honest, she really needed it. It was not convenient for her to buy it during the trip, so she had been holding on. Su Muyin took the ointment and went back to her room. "Hey, do you need help?" Qin Yunhan asked with a smile at her back. Su Muyin did not answer. She just closed the door. Qin Yunhan was right. They would be honest with each other sooner or later. But at least she had to give her some time to prepare. Unlike Qin Yunhan, who had so much more experience than her that she was shameless. Of course, she was only shameless in front of her sister. Qin Yunhan was quite decent outside. She would not talk nonsense. On the other side, Wang Haoren returned to his villa. Feng Anna was missing again. She probably went to find Song Zhihui. Feng Xuansu also went out. He did not know where she went. Ning Aoxue was cultivating in the garden. Wang Haoren did not disturb her. He quietly returned to the hall. Just as he sat down on the sofa in the hall, Lu Xini called. "I have apologized to your sister, Gu Yuro. I also recommended her script to a famous director," Lu Xini said over the phone. "That director is very satisfied with the script and is preparing to shoot a movie. He even got a big investment. It seems that your sister will be famous in the industry soon." Wang Haoren was deep in thought after hearing Lu Xini's words. Almost all the protagonists in the female genre were not simple vases. They all had an outstanding skill. Gu Yuro's skill should be writing scripts. This was also related to her language and literature major. Gu Yuro's script was liked by the director and got a big investment. It was very likely that some plot was triggered. Who is the director? Is it a man or a woman? Wang Haoren asked. It's a female director who specializes in romance movies. Her name is Zhang Li. Almost every romance movie she made was a hit. She had even won many directing awards, especially a romance movie she shot not long ago. It got close to 1 billion at the box office and made Shun Yixing famous, Lu Xini said. At the mention of Shun Yixing's movie, Wang Haoren could not help but recall that he had watched the movie 3 times in a row and almost vomited. However, Wang Haoren really did not know much about this famous director, Zhang Li. How old is Zhang Li? Wang Haoren asked. She is in her 40s, Lu Xini replied. Wang Haoren was immediately bewildered. There were usually 2 reasons why the villains of the female genre targeted the female protagonists. Firstly, it was because of the male protagonist. Secondly, it was because of the female protagonist's talent or appearance. There was no conflict between the director and the scriptwriter. Zhongli was in her 40s. She was already an old woman. She would not compare her beauty with a girl in her 20s. It seemed that Zhongli was not the villain. She was just a supporting character. She might even be a benefactor who admired Gu Yuro. Wang Haoran thought about it from another angle and suddenly asked, who is the biggest investor you mentioned just now? Beige Entertainment, Lu Cini said. Chapter 556. Beige Film and Television. After hearing the name of the company from Lu Cini, Wang Haoran could not help but think of someone. It was the CEO of Beige Film and Television, Liu Beige. Liu Beige was a classic domineering CEO character in female genre novels. If he had not destroyed Liu Beige's ability to be a man in advance, and Liu Beige had successfully pushed Gu Yuro down, he would have been a male lead in Gu Yuro's plot. However, he could only be a supporting character now. To be more precise, he was a villain now. Liu Beige wanted to take revenge on Gu Yuro because of hatred, but this hatred had not been vented yet. Now, it seemed that because of this hatred, Liu Beige's identity had most likely changed from a supporting character to a villain. A domineering CEO villain like Liu Beige would definitely be a boss in a normal female genre novel and would be able to drag on the plot for a long time. However, Wang Haoran's level was too high. If he really wanted to deal with Liu Beige, it would be an easy and pleasant thing. However, if he dealt with Liu Beige secretly, he would not gain much. To end Gu Yuro's plot, not only did he have to deal with all the villains, but he also had to make Gu Yuro like him full. Otherwise, how could there be a big ending? Therefore, he had to let Gu Yuro know that he was the one who had helped her solve this problem. Wang Haoran chatted with Lu Cini for a while more and hung up the phone. Xiao Wanwan was watching over Gu Yuro, so he was not worried that anything would happen. He just had to wait for the plot to develop and act according to the circumstances. In the CEO's office in Beige Film and Television, Liu Beige looked at the investment contract on his desk, and his eyes were shining. Previously, he had asked Gu Yuro to come to his office and did not do anything to her. This made Liu Beige realize that there was something wrong with his body. After a period of time, he went around looking for doctors to treat him. However, after such a long treatment, there was no effect at all. For a man, this matter was too much of a blow. However, in Liu Beige's heart, there was still the thought of using that method to take revenge on Gu Yuro, and he could not get rid of it. Although he had lost his ability, he still had other ways to bully Gu Yuro. When he accidentally found out that Gu Yuro's script was liked by a famous director, he immediately invested a large sum of money. She planned to make use of this matter to ask Gu Yuro out. Of course, because Gu Yuro had her guard up against him the last time, she could not show her face easily. Therefore, Liu Beige decided to find a spokesperson. Dong dong. There was a knock on the office door. Liu Beige retracted his gaze from the investment contract on the table. He looked in the direction of the office door and said, "Come in." The door was pushed open, and a woman in high heels walked in with her hips swaying. This woman was in her 20s. She had a graceful figure and was also very beautiful. She was filled with the unique charm of an urban beauty. "Brother, why did you call me over?" The woman stared at Liu Beige's handsome face. Her eyes were filled with infatuation as she asked. Liu Beige understood her gaze and frowned subconsciously. The woman in front of him was his half-sister, Cui Yutong. Cui Yutong had feelings for him that crossed the line. Liu Beige had known about this for a long time, but he had always avoided it and even tried to persuade her. Unfortunately, Cui Yutong did not listen to her. Liu Beige was helpless about this and had deliberately avoided Cui Yutong in the past. However, what he was doing now could not be spread. If he let an outsider do it, he would not feel at ease. Cui Yutong would definitely keep it a secret and would not betray him. "I have something that I need you to do," Liu Beige said faintly. "What is it?" Cui Yutong asked. "It has something to do with Gu Yuro," Liu Beige said tentatively. Cui Yutong was suddenly enlightened. She knew about the grudge between Liu Beige and Gu Yuro. "Brother, just tell me directly. No matter what you want me to do, I will do it for you. Even if I lose my life, I will not hesitate." Chui Yutong's eyes were filled with fanaticism and infatuation. Liu Beige frowned and felt very uncomfortable. However, he needed Chui Yutong to do things for him, so he could not lecture her. He was thinking in his heart that he would have a good talk with her after Gu Yuro's matter was over. Liu Beige collected his thoughts and told her his plan immediately. Brother, after Gu Yuro loses her ability to resist, what do you intend to do to her? Are you going to? Chui Yutong asked doubtfully. I just want to humiliate her. I don't intend to do that to her directly. Liu Beige was too ashamed to say that he had lost his ability to resist. When Chui Yutong heard this, she said with resentment, when the time comes, I can help. That Gu Yuro is too despicable. She used to disregard you just because she was the daughter of a rich family. You can't let her off easily. Liu Beige nodded and did not object. Gu Yuro was an evil woman. No matter how she was dealt with, it would not be too much. After discussing for a while, Chui Yutong called the director, Zhang Li, Normal University. Gu Yuro was in an exceptionally good mood. She did not have much hope for the script at first. However, after Liu Xinyi's introduction, the famous director, Zhang Li, took a fancy to it. Gu Yuro took out her phone and wanted to call Wang Haoren. Although Liu Xinyi was the one who pulled the strings, in the end, it was all because of Wang Haoren. Otherwise, Liu Xinyi would not have changed her attitude. However, after hesitating for a while, Gu Yuro could not make the call. She felt that once she made the call, she would lose her pride. Just as Gu Yuro was hesitating, her phone suddenly rang. Gu Yuro was delighted. Subconsciously, she thought it was Wang Haoren. However, after looking at the phone clearly, she realized it was a call from the famous director. Previously, under Liu Xinyi's recommendation, she had met Zhang Li before. Naturally, she had exchanged contact information with Zhang Li. Hello, Director Zhang. Gu Yuro picked up the phone and greeted politely. Are you free? I want to talk to you about the script and let you meet the investor. Zhang Li went straight to the point. Who is the investor? Gu Yuro asked curiously. Her name is Chui Yutong. She is from a film company. Zhang Li remembered Chui Yutong's instructions and did not reveal the company's name. When Gu Yuro heard the name, she knew it was a woman. Instantly, she let her guard down and replied, The school is on holiday. I am free. That's great. I have something to do now. Let's meet somewhere tonight. Do you need me to send someone to pick you up? Zhang Li asked. No need. You can tell me the address and I can come over myself, Gu Yuro said. Chapter 557. In the afternoon, Wang Haoren went to the village to visit Yang Jingwan and Liu Xinyi. He made full use of his time. In the evening, he received a call from Song Jinyu. Song Jinyu had become a postgraduate student and wanted to treat him to dinner. Wang Haoren agreed eagerly. Song Jinyu had been busy with the postgraduate entrance exam, so she hadn't bothered Liu Xinyi. Now that she had passed the postgraduate entrance exam, it was time for her to expand her career. See you at Memory Jiangnan restaurant then. I've booked a private room, Song Jinyu said over the phone. Wow, you're so generous. Did you make a fortune? Wang Haoren was surprised. He had been to this restaurant with Moon Nanji before. It wasn't cheap, and Song Jinyu wasn't very well off financially. I wrote a thesis and won an award. I received a reward of tens of thousands. I have money to pay the bill, so don't worry, Song Jinyu said with a smile. Only then did Wang Haoren realize, see you later then. After hanging up the phone, Wang Haoren started to put on his shoes. Did you ask a girl out? Liu Xinyi asked mischievously when she overheard the conversation. Yeah, Wang Haoren didn't hide it from her. Liu Xinyi's favorable impression of Wang Haoren was maxed out. She was incomparably tolerant and magnanimous. All she wanted was a place in Wang Haoren's heart. She didn't want anything else. Go ahead then. Remember to visit me when you have time, Liu Xinyi said softly. Of course, Wang Haoren nodded and reminded her. I'm quite familiar with Yang Jingwan next door. If you have the chance, you can get to know her. Liu Xinyi was stunned for a moment before she realized what he meant. However, she didn't blame him. Instead, she said with concern, you have to take care of yourself. You can be friends with her, but remember not to talk nonsense, Wang Haoren reminded her. Don't worry, I understand, Liu Xinyi said. Wang Haoren nodded and gave her a kiss as a reward for being so obedient. Then he left. He drove to Memory Jiangnan restaurant. Along the way, Xiao Wanwan suddenly called and said that Gu Yuro had gone to Jiangnan restaurant. When Wang Haoren heard this, his heart skipped a beat. He thought to himself that he might have triggered a storyline. However, the place they were going to now was Jiangnan restaurant, so it wouldn't delay anything. However, she had to be careful not to let Gu Yuro see her having a meal with Song Jinyu. When they arrived at the entrance of Jiangnan restaurant, Wang Haoren activated his X-ray vision. He scanned the area and found Gu Yuro's location. At this moment, she was in a private room with a middle-aged woman, discussing some matters regarding the script. It was obvious that the middle-aged woman was the director, Zhang Li. However, when it was time to eat, he didn't order any dishes. Was he waiting for someone? Wang Haoren made a guess. As he paid attention to the movements in Gu Yuro's private room, he walked toward the private room that Song Jinyu had mentioned. Pushing the door open and entering, Zhang Xian found that other than Song Jinyu, there was another familiar face. Ji Shuangyao was there as well. Wang Haoren was stunned for a moment, but soon felt that it was reasonable. Ji Shuangyao was Song Jinyu's tutor. Song Jinyu had been admitted as a postgraduate student, and Ji Shuangyao had contributed greatly to that. Since Song Jinyu had treated him to a meal, she would naturally treat Ji Shuangyao as well. "Hello, Sister Liu." "Hello, Sister Jinyu." Wang Haoren greeted them politely. "Sister Liu?" Song Jinyu was suspicious when she heard this form of address. Wang Haoren then realized that he had said something wrong. He quickly said, "I recognize her elder sister as my elder sister. She is the sixth in the family, so I naturally address her as Sister Liu." When Ji Shuangyao heard this, she immediately cast a puzzled look at Wang Haoren. He called her Sister Liu because he and Wei Wei were in a relationship. Why did he bring up her elder sister? Wang Haoren winked at Ji Shuangyao. Ji Shuangyao understood and didn't say much to Song Jinyu. However, she couldn't help feeling suspicious. Wang Haoren's intentions toward Song Jinyu made her feel a little jealous. She was also very beautiful. Why didn't he have any intentions toward her? "I see." Song Jinyu heard Wang Haoren's explanation and didn't think much about it. She started to order the dishes. Wang Haoren wasn't very concerned about what dishes they ordered. He was more concerned about whether there was wine. Ji Shuangyao and Song Jinyu both expressed that they didn't want to drink. However, Wang Haoren suggested that it was a happy day. How could they not order a bottle of wine to celebrate? Song Jinyu felt that it made sense and naturally ordered it. However, she said that she couldn't drink wine with too much alcohol content. Wang Haoren could only order a bottle of red wine. However, he ordered the kind that had a strong aftertaste. Ji Shuangyao and Song Jinyu didn't know much about wine and didn't notice this. While waiting for the dishes to be served, Wang Haoren used his X-ray vision to observe Gu Yuro's situation. At the same time, he paid attention to the entrance of the restaurant to see if there were any familiar figures. After a while, he saw some familiar faces. It was a young man and a young woman. The man was the overbearing CEO, Liu Beige. The woman looked unfamiliar, and Wang Haoren had never seen her before. At that moment, the two of them were talking about something. Wang Haoren could tell from the way they addressed the woman that she was Liu Beige's sister. However, Wang Haoren didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that the way the woman looked at Liu Beige was a little strange. It was similar to the way Qiu Qianwei and Qin Yunhan looked at him. However, Wang Haoren wasn't sure and planned to continue observing. Liu Beige and the woman walked into the restaurant. After talking for a while, they parted ways. The former went to an empty private room, while the latter went to the private room where Gu Yuro was. When Zhang Li saw them in the private room, she immediately stood up to greet them and introduce them to Gu Yuro. Wang Haoren watched their conversation and found out that the woman was called Shui Yutong. He was puzzled. Liu Beige and Shui Yutong didn't have the same surname, so why were they siblings? This question popped up in his mind, but he soon thought that the two of them might be a rearranged family. It was just like how Wang Haoren had used this excuse to deceive Liu Cini that he and Gu Yuro were siblings. In other words, the two of them were cousins. However, it wasn't important as it had nothing to do with him. Wang Haoren continued to observe. After Zhang Li introduced them to Gu Yuro, the latter quickly greeted Shui Yutong. Chui Yutong seemed very enthusiastic, and Gu Yuro was not wary of her at all. Zhongli called the waiter over to order. After ordering, Chui Yutong asked for a bottle of red wine. Zhongli was used to socializing, so she didn't mind. Gu Yuro said that she didn't drink. When Wang Haoren saw this, he couldn't help but feel strange. Chui Yutong obviously had bad intentions and was a little similar to him. As expected, there were some similarities between the villain's thoughts. Gu Yuro was a student and was no match for Chui Yutong, who dealt with people in the workplace. After a few words, Gu Yuro had no choice but to agree. She changed her mind and said that she would drink a little later. Of course, the main reason why Gu Yuro agreed was because she felt that there were only women here, so she wasn't so wary. However, she would never have thought that the woman in front of her was Liu Beige's sister. Chapter 558. After a while, the dishes were served at Wang Haoren's table, and the red wine was served too. Wang Haoren retracted his attention from Gu Yuro's private room. He immediately poured 3 full glasses of red wine and passed 2 glasses to Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu. "Why did you pour so much?" "I can't drink it," Song Jinyu said hurriedly. "Me too. I almost don't drink," Ji Shuiyao added. "It's just red wine. It doesn't have much alcohol content. It's just like drinking soft drinks." Wang Haoren comforted them and raised his glass to toast them. "Come, cheers." Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu raised their glasses helplessly. After clinking their glasses, Wang Haoren took a big gulp. Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu each took a small sip and expressed that they didn't like the taste of red wine. Wang Haoren didn't argue with them about this issue. He pretended not to hear them and continued eating. He raised his glass again. "I really don't like to drink. You should drink by yourself," Ji Shuiyao said hurriedly. "Red wine can beautify and nourish the skin. There's no harm in drinking it. It's rare to have such a happy day," Wang Haoren persuaded. Ji Shuiyao's eyes lit up when she heard the words beautify and nourish the skin. She didn't resist drinking red wine anymore. She raised her glass. Wang Haoren looked at Song Jinyu, who hadn't moved. "Sister Jinyu, there's still so much wine in your glass. Aren't you going to drink it? It's such a waste. Or do you want me to drink it? But you drank a mouthful just now, and there's saliva in it. Do you want me to eat your—" "All right, I'll drink it." Song Jinyu was a little embarrassed and didn't want to waste the wine. She quickly stopped Wang Haoren from continuing. Wang Haoren's trick worked, and he continued to toast with Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu. After a while, Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu didn't resist drinking red wine anymore. Not long after, the 2 snow-white cheeks were flushed red due to the alcohol surging up. Their eyes also became watery and a little blurry. "Professor Ji, it's all thanks to your teachings that I was able to become a postgraduate student in the Department of Marine Biology so quickly," Song Jinyu said sincerely to Ji Shuiyao. "Big sister Song, you're being too serious. It's because you're smart and can absorb knowledge quickly," Ji Shuiyao replied. "No, if it wasn't for your guidance, no matter how fast my learning ability is, I wouldn't have been able to pass so quickly," Song Jinyu insisted. "Sister Song, it's mainly because you're smart." A smile appeared on Ji Shuiyao's usually serious face. "Let's not talk about this anymore. All the words are in this cup of wine." Song Jinyu was at a loss for words, so she directly raised her cup. Ji Shuiyao raised her glass as well. Bang! After a crisp clinking sound, Song Jinyu drank the red wine in the glass out of gratitude. Ji Shuiyao had only intended to take a small sip, but after seeing this scene, she felt that it was very impolite. Therefore, she also drank all the red wine in the glass. The blush on her face deepened. Wang Haoren, who was watching from the side, couldn't help but find it a little funny. When the 2 of them first met, they were a little conflicted over how to address each other. Wang Haoren half-jokingly told them to address each other separately. Listening to their conversation just now, it seemed that they were really addressing each other separately. "Come, let me fill your glasses." Wang Haoren was very attentive and filled their empty glasses with wine. Perhaps the 2 of them were drunk, but they didn't object. The bottle of red wine was emptied very quickly. Wang Haoren immediately ordered another bottle. As he drank with the 2 of them, he kept an eye on Gu Yuro's situation. Just as he had guessed, Guyuro had no choice but to drink glass after glass of wine. Her snow-white face was flushed red, and she was a little dazed. Looking at her situation, she was worse than Jishu Aiyao and Song Jinyu. Her alcohol tolerance was really terrible. She had become like this after drinking a few glasses of red wine. Of course, it was also possible that Shui Yutong had secretly spiked Guyuro's wine glass. After all, Wang Haoran's attention was mostly on his dinner party, and he didn't pay much attention to Guyuro's situation. Shui Yutong had a special purpose. When she saw that Guyuro was drunk, she quickly ended the dinner party. Shui Yutong said that she would send Guyuro back and sent Zhongli away. Not long after Zhongli left, Shui Yutong took out her phone and sent a message. Not long after, Liu Beige, who was in another private room, stood up and walked straight to the private room where Guyuro was. After entering the private room, Liu Beige immediately locked the door from the inside. Why are you here? Although Guyuro was in a daze, it wasn't to the extent that she couldn't see people clearly. When she saw Liu Beige, she was so frightened that her drunkenness dissipated a little. The memory of being tricked into the company by Liu Beige was still fresh in her mind. Who would have thought that she would fall into Liu Beige's hands again after escaping by luck last time? When she saw Liu Beige suddenly appear, no matter how stupid she was, she would have guessed that Liu Beige and Shui Yutong were in cahoots. Guyuro, we meet again. The arrogance on Liu Beige's face dissipated a little and was replaced by a slightly morbid smile. Because of the abnormality in his body, his state of mind had changed. He was no longer the pure, overbearing CEO. Shui Yutong passed her bag to Liu Beige. Liu Beige took the bag and took out something from it. When Wang Haoran saw it, his eyes widened instantly. Shui Yutong was indeed carrying a bag, but Wang Haoran didn't notice what was in it. It was only when Liu Beige took it out that Wang Haoran realized it. Shui Yutong's bag was filled with adult women's items. They were the kind that outsiders wouldn't see and had a strong taste. These items were obviously prepared for Guyuro. Wang Haoran was stunned for a while and then understood. Liu Beige, the overbearing CEO, had a violent inner character. However, after losing his manhood, he couldn't vent his violence directly on Guyuro and could only use tools. Wang Haoran knew that his chance to perform had come. He told Jishu Aiyao and Song Jinyu that he needed to go to the washroom and walked out of the room. Shui Yutong had already taken out her phone and turned on the recording function. Suddenly, she said unexpectedly, "Brother, why don't you do it for real?" Shui Yutong said this because she wanted to see Liu Beige's ability with her own eyes to satisfy her strange curiosity. Guyuro felt weak all over. Her limbs were weak, and she couldn't even scream for help. At this moment, how could she not understand that something had been put in the wine she drank? While she blamed herself for being careless, she also felt a little sad. After hearing Shui Yutong's suggestion, Liu Beige's heart ached. On this issue, he was powerless even if he wanted to. I'm not interested in doing it for real with this kind of woman. Liu Beige was not stupid enough to reveal his secret. He looked very disdainful and rejected Shui Yutong's suggestion. Chapter 559. Buzz buzz. There was a buzzing sound, and Liu Beige walked toward Guyuro with a sickly smile. Guyuro felt that her limbs were weak, and she could not stop him. She could only watch as Liu Beige approached her. However, just as she was feeling hopeless, bang, a loud sound of the door being kicked was heard, and everyone in the room was shocked. It was Wang Haoran, who saw that the time was right, causing a commotion. Ding! The host has advanced the main plot of the female lead, Guyuro. Obtained 1,000 villain points. Guyuro's protagonist, aura, -50. The host's villain, aura, +50. After kicking the door open, Wang Haoran walked toward Guyuro and pushed Liu Beige, who was blocking his way, away. Liu Beige staggered and the thing in his hand fell out. It was buzzing like a snake crawling on the ground, and it looked funny. You're really stupid. Don't you have any defense against women? Wang Haoran looked down at Guyuro, who was sitting on the stool weakly. Guyuro looked up slightly, and a tall figure was reflected in her eyes. She was dazed for a moment. Ding! The female lead, Guyuro's favorability towards the host has increased by 10 points. Current favorability is 75, unchanging affection. Ding. The host has advanced the main plot of the female lead, Guyuro. Obtained 2,000 villain points. Guyuro's protagonist aura -100. The host's villain aura +100. Wong Howren grabbed Guyuro's wrist and felt her pulse. Then, he used his vital energy to expel the poison in her body. Guyuro gradually regained some strength. Liu Beige had seen Wong Howren when he was on set. He knew that he was the young master of the Wong group and was not to be trifled with. Therefore, after being bumped into and pushed, he did not dare to lose his temper. Chui Yutong did not know Wong Howren. She was shocked when Wong Howren kicked the door open and walked in. Then, she called out to Liu Beige in confusion. "Brother?" Liu Beige knew that he still had to do something. After taking a deep breath, he looked at Wong Howren and asked, "This is your woman?" "I don't have such a stupid woman." Wong Howren took on the role of the cold male protagonist and naturally denied it. Naturally, Liu Beige didn't believe him and started to negotiate. "I have some conflicts with Guyuro, but since you're standing up for her, I won't do anything to her in the future. Let's pretend this never happened. What do you think?" Wong Howren did not answer immediately. Instead, he waited for a few seconds. There was no response from the system. Obviously, Liu Beige was just pretending to comfort her. He would continue to find trouble with Guyuro in the future. After coming to this conclusion, Wong Howren directly slapped Liu Beige's face and said coldly, "What are you talking about? Who do you think you are? How dare you bargain with me?" Liu Beige stumbled from the slap and fell to the ground. One side of his face was swollen. Guyuro was stunned by Wong Howren's explosive boyfriend power. Ding. The host has stirred up the heart of the female lead, Guyuro. Obtained 700 villain points. "Brother," Chui Yutong exclaimed when she saw Liu Beige being slapped. Then, she glared at Wong Howren. However, she only glared at him and didn't dare to make a move. Liu Beige looked so tall, but he couldn't even withstand a slap from Wong Howren. How could she, a weak woman, be a match for him? Wouldn't she be asking for a beating if she made a move? "Do you like your brother?" Wong Howren asked a question that had been in his heart. After asking, he realized that he wasn't clear enough and added, "I'm not referring to the affection between a man and a woman." "Why should I tell you?" Chui Yutong asked stubbornly. Wong Howren didn't reply, but raised his hand slightly. Chui Yutong was so scared that her face turned pale. She quickly replied, "Yes, yes." Liu Beige already knew this and didn't find it strange at all. Guyuro, on the other hand, was stunned. Weren't these two siblings? After Wong Howren received her reply, he couldn't help but click his tongue. The plot in the female channel was so melodramatic. Liu Beige was originally the male lead in Guyuro's plot. If the plot had progressed smoothly and Liu Beige had become the male lead, Chui Yutong would have become Guyuro's love rival. As a bootlicker, Liu Beige would probably put justice before family in order to prevent Chui Yutong from hurting Guyuro. This would show how important Guyuro was in Liu Beige's heart. "Look, for you, I can even give up my sister. Don't I care about you enough?" This was similar to, "I'm willing to be the enemy of the world for you." He had to admit that this plot was really disgusting. In order to highlight the existence of the female lead, there was no need to design such a plot, right? There were so many plots that could be designed. Why did it have to be so melodramatic? However, on second thought, although this plot was melodramatic, the female channel liked it very much. After complaining for a while, Wong Howren looked at Chui Yutong, who had a morbid persona. Suddenly, a strange idea popped up in his mind. Could this morbid persona be corrected? Wong Howren had the ability to correct it. After this idea popped up in his mind, he immediately communicated with the system and issued a command. Ding! The host has successfully used the charm halo on Chui Yutong. Chui Yutong's favorability toward the host has increased to 100 points. After receiving the notification from the system, Wong Howren was secretly delighted. Then, he turned his attention to Chui Yutong's face. He saw that the resentment in Chui Yutong's eyes had completely disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by an infatuated tenderness. Chui Yutong found this very strange. However, she found Wong Howren very pleasing to the eye. He was so handsome and charming. In the past, she had thought that Liu Beige was the most handsome person in the world. However, now that she compared Liu Beige to Wang Haoren, she suddenly felt that her brother was too ordinary. Why did she like him in the past? She was crazy. Go with your brother. Wang Haoren pinched Cui Yutong's face and smiled faintly. He had to deal with Liu Beige, but this was not the right place. Moreover, Wang Haoren did not intend to do it himself. This was because after gaining Cui Yutong's favorability, he had a good idea to deal with Liu Beige. After hearing Wang Haoren's words, Cui Yutong replied with a soft, "Oh, like a well-behaved wife." When Wang Haoren saw this reaction, he naturally understood that Cui Yutong's illness had been cured. Liu Beige was very puzzled by Cui Yutong's reaction, but in this situation, it was not convenient for him to ask more. Soon, Liu Beige and Cui Yutong left. "Stupid woman, take a taxi home yourself." Wang Haoren still had a dinner appointment, so he could not send Gu Yuro back. Moreover, Xiao Wanwan was outside the restaurant. Nothing would happen to Gu Yuro. "Thank you." Gu Yuro was not angry when Wang Haoren called her a stupid woman. Instead, she thanked him gratefully. This woman was actually not stubborn anymore. Was it because her favorability had increased? Wang Haoren was secretly surprised. After Gu Yuro left, Wang Haoren returned to the other room. He continued to drink with Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu. The two of them became even more drunk. When they were almost done, they paid the bill and left. Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu took a taxi home. Wang Haoren drove a sports car, so it was not convenient for the two of them. Moreover, he was drunk, so it was not convenient for him to drive. After leaving the restaurant, Wang Haoren found an excuse and said that he had to leave to settle some matters, so he could not send them back. However, he was worried that the two of them would go back like this, so he suggested that they find a hotel nearby to stay for the night. After that, Wang Haoren sent the two of them to a hotel and booked a room for them to stay in. He then escorted them to their room. Then, he pretended to leave, but at this moment, someone called. The caller was actually Wenjing. Wang Haoren had deliberately sent her a message to ask her to make a call. He answered the call in front of Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu. "Hello, you don't need me to go?" "All right then." Wang Haoren spoke into the phone for a while and ended the call. Chapter 560. Seriously, if she had called earlier, I would have been able to send you back. Wang Haoren hung up the phone and pretended to complain. Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu looked at each other, speechless. If they could go back, who would want to stay outside? Especially Ji Shuiyao, who was even more unwilling. Tantai Yaoiwa had warned her not to stay outside. But now that the room had been booked and the money had been paid, even if they checked out now, they couldn't get all the money back. "You can stay here tonight. I'll go back first." Wang Haoren put his phone in his pocket and pretended to leave the room. His steps were a little shaky, as if he was drunk. Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu were a little worried. Sure enough, Wang Haoren didn't take more than a few steps before he fell to the ground with a bang. It was as if he had fallen heavily. Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu jumped in fright and hurriedly rushed over to help him up. "How are you? Are you okay? You didn't fall anywhere, right?" Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu asked with concern. "I'm fine." Wang Haoren shook his head, broke free from their hands, and continued to walk out. He was still shaky. How could Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu be at ease? "You can stay here tonight. I'll get you another room," Song Jinyu said. "No need, it's a waste of money." Wang Haoren quickly stopped her. Song Jinyu was treating today, and she insisted on paying for the meal and the room. "Look at you. You're even more drunk than we are. I'm really worried about you going back alone. Just listen to me." Song Jinyu persuaded. "Yeah, I'll stay here." Ji Shuiyao agreed. Although the two were quite drunk, they only felt a little dizzy and their steps were a little shaky, but it wasn't to the extent that they couldn't walk properly. Wang Haoren's condition was clearly worse than the two of them. Of course, this was only their wishful thinking. What I mean is don't waste the money. I'll stay here with you. Wang Haoren felt that it was enough, so he made a suggestion. Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu were both dumbfounded. Wang Haoren pointed to the sofa in the luxurious suite and added, "I'll just sleep there. It's not like I'm going to fight for space with you. But if you don't trust me, then forget it. I'll go home by myself." Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu exchanged glances wondering if the other party would mind. "It doesn't matter to me. What about you?" Ji Shuiyao asked nonchalantly. "Then let's save some money and not waste it," Song Jinyu replied. After getting the approval, Wang Haoran staggered to the sofa. He collapsed on the sofa, and soon, the sound of his even breathing could be heard. There are 2 beds in the room. Song Jinyu wanted to tell him to squeeze in with Ji Shuiyao and leave the other bed empty. However, Wang Haoran fell asleep right away. He didn't even have time to say this. Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu went to wash up and then went to rest. The room was dark. They seemed to have fallen asleep. But at this moment, Wang Haoran, who was pretending to be asleep on the sofa, suddenly opened his eyes. The moonlight shone through the curtains. Wang Haoran could clearly see the layout of the room. Ding! The host has captured the female lead Ji Shuiyao for the first time. Gained 2,800 villain points. Ji Shuiyao's female lead Halo minus 140. Host villain Halo plus 140. Ding! The host has captured the female lead Song Jinyu for the first time. Gained 1,800 villain points. Song Jinyu's female lead Halo minus 90. Host villain Halo plus 90. Ding! The female lead Song Jinyu's favorability towards the host has increased by 10. Current favorability is 70, unchanging affection. The next morning, Wang Haoran woke up on the sofa as if nothing had happened. After washing up, he went to have breakfast with Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu. During breakfast, Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu both felt guilty and didn't say a word. Wang Haoran was secretly laughing, but he also kept silent. That's right, both of them thought that they had done something bad and felt guilty. The reason was naturally because they were exposed one by one. Simply put, when Ji Shuiyao was busy, Song Jinyu was asleep and had no idea what had happened. When Song Jinyu was busy, Ji Shuiyao was asleep and didn't know what had happened during this period. To do this, it was too easy for Wang Haoran. Not to mention his current true qi cultivation. Even if he was a master of neutral strength who had 50 years of true qi cultivation, he could easily tap a person's sleeping acupoint. Of course, Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu wouldn't cooperate, but they couldn't stop a certain someone from acting shamelessly. After all, they had drunk wine and their hearts were already taken, so they naturally gave in to a certain someone. In addition, the 2 of them were also a little drunk. Under the combination of all these reasons, it was only natural that they would do something like this. During breakfast, they were silent for a long time. But in the end, Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu couldn't help but test each other. Otherwise, they would feel uneasy. Ji Shuiyao was the first to break the silence. "Sister Song, did you sleep well last night?" When Song Jinyu heard this, her heart jumped to her throat. She couldn't have found out, right? Suppressing her wildly beating heart, she replied calmly, "I slept well. I slept quite well. I slept all the way until dawn." Ji Shuiyao heard this and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. She said, "Me too. I slept until dawn." After testing each other, the 2 of them looked at each other and couldn't help but smile. They seemed to be very glad, thinking to themselves, "Thank goodness she didn't find out." When Wang Haoran heard this, he almost laughed out loud. But he stuffed his mouth with food in time and didn't laugh out loud. After breakfast, Wang Haoran flagged down a car and let Ji Shuiyao and Song Jinyu get in while he followed in a taxi. The taxi stopped near Qingling University. Ji Shuiyao had just finished her postgraduate exams and didn't have anything to do for the time being. She was more free now and was about to go to Ji Shuiyao's dormitory to rest. Wang Haoran offered to send her there. Song Jinyu naturally didn't object. Ji Shuiyao was also on vacation and didn't have anything to do. However, she really didn't want to walk back. This wasn't because she was lazy, but because of another reason. Wang Haoran was a veteran of the Jianghu, so of course he knew this. He secretly sent a message to Ji Shuiyao, asking her to wait for a while. Ji Shuiyao was secretly delighted, thinking that this guy was quite considerate. Song Jinyu sat in the passenger seat. Wang Haoran drove the car into Qingling University and headed for the dormitory building. But when they passed by a quiet and deserted campus road, Wang Haoran suddenly stopped the car. Song Jinyu looked at him, puzzled. Sigh. I really deserve to die. Deserve to die. Wang Haoran was possessed by the movie king and kept slapping himself in the face. Song Jinyu was startled and hurriedly grabbed his hand to stop him. Stunned, she asked, "Why are you hitting yourself?" Wang Haoran turned his head and saw that his eyes were red and his face was full of self-blame and guilt. Song Jinyu was stunned for a moment. Then she said softly, "Idiot, I'm not blaming you. Why are you hitting yourself? I let you down, and I've let mine down." Wang Haoran sighed. Song Jinyu was startled and vaguely understood something. Chapter 561. After figuring this out, Song Jinyu subconsciously became angry. But this anger didn't last long and gradually dissipated. At that time, she could have kicked him away, but she didn't have a heart. This was her indulgence of him. Thinking back, it didn't seem to be his fault. Moreover, in fact, she also had a faint premonition about Su Muyin's matter. When the two were in Water Sheen, they were both top students in the class and had a lot of contact in the past. It could be said that they were a golden couple and couldn't be more compatible. It would be strange if they weren't together. Since it has already happened, it's useless for you to hit yourself. Even if you don't feel pain, I feel pain. Song Jinyu glanced at Wang Haoran with hidden bitterness and asked nervously, "Then what are you going to do about it? You forgive me?" The self-blame on Wang Haoran's face dissipated a little as he asked, "What else? Beat you up and then cut ties with you? I want to, but my hands won't listen to me. What can I do?" Song Jinyu rolled her eyes. "I will talk to mine about this. You don't have to show up." Wang Haoran comforted. "If you let me go, I won't have the face." Song Jinyu's expression was strange, and then she showed some worry. "If mine doesn't accept, what will you choose?" "I'm not a child. Do I need to choose?" Wang Haoran secretly ridiculed, but on the surface he said sincerely, "I told you before, wherever I am is your home. These words will always be valid and will not change because of anything." Song Jinyu was startled, and infinite tenderness gushed out from her heart. Ding! The host has stirred the heart of the female lead. Song Jinyu received 800 villain points. Seeing this, Wang Haoran knew that Song Jinyu had calmed down. He drove towards the dormitory building. After sending Song Jinyu to her destination, Wang Haoran returned to the place where Ji Shuiyao got off and sent her back to Lu Yu's villa. Ji Shuiyao had a guilty conscience and didn't dare to let Wang Haoran send her in. Wang Haoran was also happy and at ease. He drove away quickly. Ji Shuiyao arrived at the main hall. Tantai Yaoiwe was sitting on the sofa. After seeing Ji Shuiyao's figure, she frowned and said, "You also know to come back?" "Big sis, I'm not a kid anymore. It's just a night away. It's not a big deal." Ji Shuiyao said weakly. "That's right, he's no longer a child. He's a true adult." When Tantai Yaoyu said this, her tone was especially strange. Ji Shuiyao was extremely flustered. She knew that her elder sister had noticed something. However, the way she moved did indeed look strange. It was no wonder that eldest sister would be suspicious. "Big sister, what are you talking about? I don't understand." Ji Shuiyao still wanted to quibble. Tantai Yaoyu got up from the sofa and walked towards Ji Shuiyao's room. "Come with me." Ji Shuiyao vaguely guessed what Tantai Yaoyu wanted to do and followed him dejectedly. After a while, Ji Shuiyao stopped quibbling. Tantai Yaoyu saw substantial evidence. This matter couldn't be hidden even if they wanted to. "When did you talk?" Tantai Yaoyu asked. "We talked for a long time. It's been a few years." Ji Shuiyao guessed that her big sister was angry, so she didn't dare to tell the truth. Thus, she lied. "What does he do?" Tantai Yaoyu continued to ask. "Research workers. He's an important person in the scientific world." Ji Shuiyao's words weren't completely a lie. Wang Haoran had published many important scientific papers before and caused a huge wave in the scientific world. He was definitely an important person. It was just that he didn't appear in public. Tantai Yaoyu heard this and wasn't angry anymore. First, Sixth Sister was a research worker. Finding someone in the same field as her and having a good topic to talk about would make them a good match. Second, her family wasn't wiped out by that despicable fellow. More accurately, other than Ji Shuiyao, there was also Bufian. There were two fish that escaped the net. Tantai Yaoyue's mentality was different from Qiu Qianwei's. Qiu Qianwei hoped that the sisters would compete on the same stage and be harmonious. But Tantai Yaoyue didn't want that. As the big sister, she had the dignity of a big sister in her heart. If she could let one less sister laugh at her, then she would let one less sister laugh at her. After all, if they competed on the same stage as the big sister, she would be watched and it would be very embarrassing. But after knowing that Ji Shuiyao's partner was a research worker, Tantai Yaoyue had a feeling of relief that they weren't wiped out by that fellow. Pay attention to protect yourself. Tantai Yaoyue relaxed her mentality and didn't pursue the matter with Ji Shuiyao. Instead, she reminded her out of love. I have protection, Ji Shuiyao subconsciously replied. But as soon as she said this, she suddenly realized something. Why would that guy carry a safety net with him? Was it premeditated? Ji Shuiyao was startled, but quickly felt that it didn't matter. This was what she wanted. Now that she got what she wanted, wasn't it better? Should she go find trouble with him? She would just be looking for trouble. It would be best to pretend that she didn't know anything. Maybe, seeing how obedient she was, he would pamper her even more. After all, other than Qiu Qianwei, she was the youngest. She deserved to be pampered, right? Ji Shuiyao felt that she had to change her serious and rigid appearance from now on. At least in front of him, she had to change. It would be best to learn from the gentle and sweet seventh sister. After Wang Haoran sent Ji Shuiyao back, he returned to his own villa. It was still the holidays, and he had nothing to do. So he took the initiative to contact Su Muyan. Are you playing games or doing something else? He typed a message and sent it to Su Muyan. Qin Yunhan found out. She's been laughing at me these days. I'm hiding in my room to rest. Su Muyan quickly replied. Are you feeling better? Wang Haoran asked. I've applied medicine. Much better. Su Muyan replied. Wang Haoran, do you want to continue resting? Or do you want me to chat with you or play games with you? Su Muyan, why do I feel that you've suddenly become much more enthusiastic towards me? Seeing this message, Wang Haoran was secretly shocked. A woman's intuition was really accurate. Wang Haoran, this is how it should be. You've been so tolerant towards me, so of course I have to treat you better. Su Muyan, you know how good I am, right? Then you have to treat me well. Do you even need to say it? But if I do something bad in the future, can you not be angry with me? Wang Haoran asked tentatively. Su Muyan, do I have another sister? Wang Haoran, first come, first served. You're the older sister. I'll find an opportunity to ask her to serve you tea. Su Muyan's reaction wasn't very big. After all, she already had Qin Yunhan, so she didn't mind having another sister. However, she still had some doubts, so she sent a message. It doesn't matter if she serves me tea or not, as long as she doesn't quarrel with me like Qin Yunhan. Otherwise, I'm afraid that I'll get high blood pressure at a young age. Wang Haoran, of course not. Su Muyan heaved a sigh of relief and then asked 3 questions in a row. What's her name? Do I know her? What does she look like? Chapter 562. Wang Haoran felt that he had to give Su Muyan some time to prepare. Hence, he did not intend to say it out loud. After thinking for a while, he typed a reply. When I have time, I will arrange for you to meet so that you can get to know each other. All right then. Su Muyan did not insist and did not continue the conversation. Instead, she typed another reply and sent it out. Play games with me? I will log in and you will help me. After that, the two of them began their delightful underground tour. On the other hand, Ling Nanxiu, who was also on vacation, did not slack off either. Zhao Taizhu brought Ling Nanxiu to Siam for a vacation. Siam was famous for its silk, tropical fruits, gold and silver jewelry, and rice. However, the most representative product of Siam was another specialty of Siam, human hair. It was worth mentioning that Siam's surgery was the best in the world. Siam could fulfill the wishes of boys who were dissatisfied with their natural gender. At this moment, Ling Nanxiu was lying on a mobile bed and was being pushed to the operating room. Originally, Zhao Taizhu had invited Ling Nanxiu to Siam for a vacation. However, Zhao Taizhu had used all his skills and the cultural environment of Siam to persuade Ling Nanxiu. Moreover, Zhao Taizhu said that he would pay for all the expenses. He even swore that he would marry her in the future. Of course, someone would reimburse him. However, it was true that he would marry her. After a difficult struggle, Ling Nanshu made up his mind. After being pushed into the operating room, Zhao Taizhu waited anxiously outside. After a few hours, the door of the operating room was finally pushed open. The chief surgeon said to Zhao Taizhu in Siamese, "The surgery went well." There was no interpreter around, so Zhao Taizhu could not understand. However, he could tell from the smile on the doctor's face that the surgery had gone well. Ding! The host manipulated behind the scenes and indirectly induced Ling Nanshu to undergo a sex change surgery. The reward is 4,000 villain points. Ling Nanshu's protagonist Halo -200. The host's villain Halo +200. Ding! Ling Nanshu's sex change has been successful. The cross-dressing boss system has automatically removed him from the main character's identity. That's it. After receiving the system notification, Wang Haoran was stunned for a moment. He felt that it was too fast. This Zhao Taizhu was truly a genius. Wang Haoran originally thought that it would take at least a few months or even longer for Zhao Taizhu to accomplish this. Who knew that Zhao Taizhu would do it so quickly? As expected of a capable person, Wang Haoran communicated with the system and checked the list of villains on the interface. Villain points, 237400. After such a long time of hard work, he had finally reached his ideal point. Wang Haoran spent 200,000 villain points in one go and exchanged them for 200 years of true qi. At the same time, his combat power increased from 9236 to 18236. His combat power had increased by 9,000. Wang Haoran clearly remembered that the last time he checked Qin Fan's information, his combat power was 16,726. If Qin Fan's combat power didn't change, he would be able to crush him. Of course, the possibility of it not changing was not high. Yin Yunqian's supreme, carefree skill required the balance of yin and yang in order to increase his strength. However, after that aspect was destroyed, this supreme, carefree skill was equivalent to being crippled, and his cultivation base did not improve at all. However, Qin Fan was different. He could cultivate normally. Wang Haoran did not think that he would always be at the same place. Of course, he would definitely improve, but it would not be too exaggerated. At most, his combat power would increase by 1,000, right? That would only be a little more than 17,000. He was still weaker than himself. Wang Haoran was sure that he did not need to fear Qin Fan anymore. He did not need to pretend like before. With the confidence to face him head-on, he could naturally do more things. It was now evening. Wang Haoran had just finished his trip with Su Muyan. Qiu Qianwei called and asked him to go over for dinner. Wang Haoran naturally agreed. On the way to the Seven Sisters Villa, he began to feel the changes brought about by the 400 years of true qi. In general, his perception had increased by several levels. His body had been tempered by the extremely dense true qi and had become much stronger. The most obvious improvement was the terrifying power brought about by the circulation of his true qi. Wang Haoran estimated that if he used all of his true qi, he could even tear down a villa in a few seconds. Why is this guy here? When Wang Haoran neared the Seven Sisters Villa, he saw a person pacing back and forth nearby. Wasn't this Qin Fan? After being surprised for a moment, he quickly understood. This Qin Fan must have come to apologize to Tantai Yaoyue. Was he near the villa, waiting for Tantai Yaoyue to come out? Wang Haoran secretly guessed. Very quickly, Qin Fan also noticed Wang Haoran and immediately ran towards Wang Haoran. Wang Haoran immediately spent some villain points to check Qin Fan's status panel. As expected, Qin Fan's battle power had increased from the original 16726 to 17345. And compared to his own 18236, it was much worse. Wang Haoran immediately relaxed. If he directly attacked Qin Fan now, he would definitely be able to instantly kill him. However, Wang Haoran did not plan to do so. Qin Fan, this sheep, was still quite fat. If he directly killed him, it would be too wasteful. It would be better to leave him to harvest more wool. Moreover, if he left Qin Fan alive, his other disciples would appear one after another. Wang Haoran did not have the slightest interest in Qin Fan's male disciples, but he wanted to make friends with the female disciples. Before, he always used all kinds of methods to cover for them, and was very sullen. He did not dare to speak about Tantai Yaoyue, and also did not dare to speak about Song Zhihui. But now it was different. In front of Qin Fan, he pursued his disciple. How would he feel? What are you doing here? Wang Haoran saw Qin Fan walking in front of him and asked indifferently. Seeing this, Qin Fan was surprised, because Wang Haoran's current attitude and tone was completely different from the shy and honest little boy from before. However, Qin Fan did not pay much attention to it, because he was anxious about his own matters. You didn't give me a definite answer. I wanted to find your sister in private and personally apologize to her. Qin Fan did not hide his intentions, and then impolitely asked. But when I knocked on the door, no one opened it for me, so I was thinking of sneaking in, but it's good to see you. Just find a reason and call your sister out. Wang Haoran raised his head to look at the evening sky, and felt that it was still too bright to do anything, so he pretended to agree. Okay, then wait. When it's dark, I'll call my sister out. That's great. Haoran, if your sister can be good to me, I'll remember you for a lifetime. Qin Fan said excitedly. Wang Haoran laughed, but he was completely amused by Qin Fan. What the hell was this guy thinking? After bidding farewell to Qin Fan, Wang Haoran walked towards the Seven Sisters' villa and knocked on the door. There was a surveillance camera at the entrance of the villa, so he could see who it was. When the people inside saw that it was Wang Haoran, someone quickly opened the door for him. After Qin Fan saw it from afar, he was filled with anticipation. Xiao Qianwei and the others were busy in the kitchen. Wang Haoran was in the hall, waiting for dinner. During this time, he contacted Jiang Gaoxian. Wang Haoran already had a plan to deal with Qin Fan, but he was too lazy to wash his hands, so he still planned to call Jiang Gaoxian over. After all, Jiang Gaoxian had 2 experiences, so he would definitely be proficient in this. Chapter 563. Everyone sat around the table to eat. Wang Haoran noticed that one person was missing and asked curiously, "Where did fourth sister go?" He did not go to the kitchen and thought that everyone was busy in the kitchen. Only now did he realize that Bufian was not there. Fourth sister took on a mission and left Xingling yesterday. Xiao Qianwei replied. Wang Haoran nodded. Thinking about it carefully, it seemed that among the 7 sisters, only Bufian had escaped the net. He was originally planning to get in touch with Bufian, but since Bufian was not here, he could only wait for her to come back. This fish is delicious. You should eat some. Tantai Yaoyue put some food into Wang Haoran's bowl and said gently. Other than Xiao Qianwei, who knew the reason, the rest of the sisters looked at Tantai Yaoyue suspiciously. Tantai Yaoyue felt a little guilty and said with a straight face, "What are you looking at? He's Weiwei's boyfriend, and we're family. What's wrong with me putting food into his bowl? Is it strange?" "It's not strange, not strange." Luo Qingxian was educated by Tantai Yaoyue and had a strong desire to live. She immediately replied with a smile. After speaking, she also put some food into Wang Haoran's bowl. "Eat this." Luo Qingxian smiled sweetly at Wang Haoran. Biansuan saw this and followed suit. Lu Yu, Ji Shuiyao, and Qiu Qianwei also felt that they could not stay idle and did the same. The bowl was only so big. Everyone took their chopsticks and the food piled into Wang Haoran's bowl. Tantai Yaoyue did not feel strange about Luo Qingxian, Biansuan, and Lu Yu's actions. After all, she already knew about these things from Qiu Qianwei. But what was going on with Ji Shuiyao? Why did she look so attentive and eager to show off? Tantai Yaoyue looked at Ji Shuiyao suspiciously, but immediately felt that she was overthinking. Perhaps Ji Shuiyao saw him picking up food for Wang Haoran. So she was just picking up food for him out of concern for her brother-in-law. She didn't have any other intentions. Tantai Yaoyue didn't think about this for now. Her attention was on Biansuan. She already knew that third sister was one of them. According to the order of arrival, Biansuan seemed to be only after seventh sister. She could be considered as his elder sister. Tantai Yaoyue revealed a smile and suddenly said to Biansu, "Third sister, when we were young, Eldest sister often disciplined and scolded you. It was all for your own good. You won't blame eldest sister, right? Biensuin didn't reply immediately because she noticed Tantai Yao Yu's smile. She felt it was a bit scary. Tantai Yao Yue had always been very dignified. Suddenly revealing this kind of smile made Biensuin feel a little flustered. Could it be that big sister found out that and the more Biensuin thought about it, the more she felt that it was possible. She shrunk her neck and admitted, "Big sister, I was wrong." Tantai Yao Yu was stunned. She originally wanted to talk about the past with third sister and talk about their sisterly relationship. Then she would give her a heads up. "When we were young, I disciplined you strictly for your own good. So don't be calculative with me. Don't use the identity of big sister to purposely suppress me." But Biensuin didn't do as she expected. "Big sister, I will tell you the truth. Actually, my boyfriend is him. But there's a reason for this." Biensuin pointed at Wang Haoran and said to Tantai Yao Yu. Before Tantai Yao Yu could reply, Luo Qingxian also raised her hand and said, "Big sister, I was wrong too. And in me." Lu Yu also said weakly. Xiao Qianwei saw this scene and couldn't help but find it funny. She couldn't help but say, "Big sister already knows and said that she won't blame you." Luo Qingxian, Biensuin, and Lu Yu heard and instantly let out a sigh of relief. They all expressed their gratitude to Tantai Yao Yu. The meaning of their words was that Tantai Yao Yu was the best sister in the world. "Big sister, do you have anything you want to say?" Xiao Qianwei took the opportunity to ask Tantai Yao Yu. Tantai Yao Yu also felt that this was a very good chance. If she didn't say it now, when would she say it? "Actually, I also have a secret that I want to tell you." Tantai Yao Yu glanced at Luo Qingxian, Biensuin, and Lu Yu and said nervously. Luo Qingxian, Biensuin, and Lu Yu looked at each other and were confused. They then looked at Tantai Yao Yu and waited for her reply. Tantai Yao Yu was suddenly at a loss for words. She didn't know what to say, so she glanced at Wang Haoran as if asking for help, hoping that he would say something. Wang Haoran pretended not to see and continued to eat. Tantai Yao Yu was a bit depressed. She opened her mouth a few times, but didn't say anything. Xiao Qianwei was anxious and said for her, "Big sister wants to say that she made the same mistake as you." When she said this, Luo Qingxian, Biensuin, Lu Yu, and Ji Shuiyao all opened their eyes wide in disbelief. Tantai Yao Yu was extremely embarrassed, but she still braced herself and asked, "So can you accept me?" Luo Qingxian, Biensuin, and Lu Yu were afraid of being scolded, so they didn't dare to say it. Now that big sister joined in, they were actually quite happy. Plus, seventh sister was the main person. Seventh sister didn't have an opinion. What opinion could they have? "I also have something to say." Ji Shuiyao, who had been silent, suddenly raised her hand nervously. Other than Wang Haoran, everyone looked at her. "Big sister, actually the person I told you about this morning is him." Ji Shuiyao pointed at Wang Haoran. "What?" Tantai Yao Yu was shocked and knocked her bowl over. She was about to slam the table, but she suddenly remembered that on this matter, the one who had the biggest say was not her, but Xiao Qianwei. So she controlled herself. Tantai Yao Yu and the others all looked at Xiao Qianwei. "Sixth sister, you also, this is great." Xiao Qianwei not only wasn't angry, she was actually very happy. She smiled at Wang Haoran. "Only fourth sister is left. Whether us 7 sisters can live together forever, it all depends on you." Tantai Yao Yu and the others were stunned. Xiao Qianwei was too generous? But wasn't she the big sister? As the little sisters, how could they blame the big sister? After revealing their cards, Tantai Yao Yu and the other sisters looked at each other strangely. Originally, they were just sisters, but now they became sisters in another sense. This really needed time to get used to. Wang Haoran, on the other hand, was secretly happy for quite a while. This was something he had hoped for a long time ago. Or it could be said that this was something that would only happen at the end of Lin Chen's main storyline. Of course, more accurately speaking, he still needed Bu Fei Yin to complete it. The dinner ended in a harmonious atmosphere. Today, Wang Haoran didn't drink red wine, but he calmly stayed. Anyway, no one here would drive him away. Wang Haoran took out his phone and looked at it. There were many messages, most of them were from Qin Fan, urging him to quickly call Tantai Yaoyu out. And one of them was from Jiang Gaoxian, saying that he was already in position nearby and the tools were ready. Wang Haoran looked at the sky and found that it was already dark outside. It was time to act. On the other side, Qin Fan sat on a bench on a small path not far from the Seven Sisters villa, waiting anxiously. On the small path, some people living in the villa area would walk by from time to time. Occasionally, there would be one or two beauties. But Qin Fan's standards were very high. Ordinary beauties couldn't enter his eyes. But not long after, he suddenly saw a beauty whose beauty was no less than Tantai Yaoyu's, walking by. Qin Fan only felt that it was a celestial being. Moreover, this woman's steps were light, her breathing was long, and she didn't deliberately hide her true qi cultivation. Qin Fan naturally found that this was a woman who cultivated martial arts. Women who cultivated martial arts generally admired the strong. Qin Fan felt that with his explosive strength, if he pursued this kind of woman, the success rate would be quite high. If he could take Tantai Yaoyu and this beauty in front of him, it would be too wonderful. Qin Fan was looking forward to it. While he was imagining some scenes, the woman quickly walked past him. Qin Fan was afraid that he would miss this beautiful woman in the future. He couldn't help but chase after her and ask, "Hello, beauty, can I ask you for directions? Where are you going?" Out of politeness, Feng Xuanzu asked subconsciously, "To the road in your heart." Qin Fan used the flirting skills he learned on the internet when he was a shut-in. Chapter 564. Feng Xuanzu initially wanted to show Qin Fan the way out of goodwill. However, after hearing his words, she frowned. This seemingly confident guy before her was obviously trying to hit on her. Feng Xuanzu wasn't a hot-tempered person. Although she was displeased, she wouldn't speak ill of him. She replied to Qin Fan coldly, "I have a husband." Qin Fan was stunned for a moment before he reacted. The husband that this femme fatale mentioned was naturally her husband. However, it didn't matter how she addressed him. The important thing was that Qin Fan's heart was about to break. This beauty looked to be in her early 20s. To think that she already had a husband. What a pity. He felt sad for a moment. However, his eyes immediately lit up. He felt that this beauty might be lying to reject him. Feng Xuanzu didn't know what Qin Fan was thinking. However, after knowing Qin Fan's intention to hit on her, she ignored him completely. She walked along the path and prepared to go home. Qin Fan stayed where he was for a moment. He sent a message to Wang Haoran, telling him to inform him when he called Tantai Yaoyu out. Then, he followed Feng Xuanzu. He wanted to see where this femme fatale stayed. It was nighttime. There were street lamps on the path. As long as Feng Xuanzu turned around, she would see him following behind her. Therefore, Qin Fan purposely walked along the ornamental lawn where the street lamps couldn't reach. It was clearly written on the lawn that no one was allowed to step on it. However, Qin Fan didn't care about that. He only had two thoughts in his mind right now. First, he wanted to know where this femme fatale stayed. Second, he wanted to see if she really had a husband. However, in Qin Fan's opinion, the possibility of this beauty having a husband was very small. Even if she did, Qin Fan didn't want to give up. For such a femme fatale, even if she had a husband, he could still accept it. Just as Qin Fan was having these thoughts, he didn't notice that someone was following him from behind. If it was under normal circumstances, Qin Fan wouldn't have done that. However, his attention was completely focused on Feng Xuanzu. He didn't notice the approaching danger at all. It wasn't until the person behind him was within 10 steps that Qin Fan realized it. 10 steps was considered a long distance for an ordinary person. If the person behind wanted to do something to the person in front, the person in front would be able to react in time and make preparations. However, at Wang Haoran's level of cultivation, 10 steps could be covered in the blink of an eye. Just as Qin Fan was startled, Wang Haoran moved. 400 years' worth of true qi was fully activated. It carried the power of wind and thunder as it slammed heavily towards Qin Fan's back. Qin Fan hurriedly turned around and raised his hand. However, he was unable to circulate all of his true qi in an instant. When the two palms collided, there was a sudden explosion. The air was stirred up, and the area within a radius of dozens of meters instantly became a vacuum zone. Outside the vacuum zone, a gust of wind blew. Qin Fan let out a muffled groan as his body retreated. His legs plowed out two deep and long marks on the grass that were more than 10 meters long. By the time he steadied himself, Wang Howren was already by his side. The light was dim and the movement was fast. Qin Fan did not even see who attacked him clearly. He only felt a pain in his neck and fell to the ground. On a small path not far away, some passers-by looked over in surprise because of the explosion and the gust of wind. However, the grass field was dark, and they could not see the situation clearly. No one knew what happened over there. After a while, the source of the commotion calmed down. There were one or two brave passers-by who ran over to take a look. However, they only saw the marks on the grass field. Other than that, they did not see anything else. At this moment, Qin Fan had already been brought to a secluded corner near the villa area. Wang Howren cleanly shattered his dantian with a palm strike. Ding! Host destroyed Qin Fan's dantian, causing Qin Fan to lose his cultivation. Received 10,000 villain points. Qin Fan's protagonist aura -500. Host villain aura +500. Although Wang Howren intended to keep Qin Fan alive to take advantage of him, he naturally wouldn't allow him to retain his strength while controlling him. Letting Qin Fan lose his martial strength was the safest way. This way, Qin Fan would not be a threat to him. Wang Howren waited in this corner for a while before Jiang Gaoxian came over. After giving some instructions to Jiang Gaoxian, Wang Howren left quickly and returned to Liu Yu's villa. When he was near the entrance of the villa, Wang Howren received a notification from the system. Ding! Host manipulated behind the scenes, causing Qin Fan to lose his manhood completely. Received 8,000 villain points. Qin Fan's protagonist aura -400. Host villain aura +400. As expected of a protagonist with over 10,000 protagonist aura, the rewards provided were really plentiful. Wang Howren was secretly surprised. At the same time, he could not help but feel a little happy. When Qin Fan was hitting on Feng Xuanzu, he had seen it from afar with his X-ray vision. There was no need to mention his relationship with Feng Xuanzu. Qin Fan was so daring to have ideas about Feng Xuanzu. He deserved to be cut. He wondered how Qin Fan would feel when he woke up. After losing that thing, would Qin Fan still have the heart to chase after girls? Wang Howren thought jokingly. Of course, making Qin Fan lose that thing was just a part of the plan. Qin Fan had already become famous because of his craftsmanship. Wang Howren planned to let Qin Fan become famous again. Anyway, Qin Fan's popularity had just dissipated. It would be too easy for him to become popular again. Late at night, Wang Howren began to get down to business. Except for the owner of the 6th room, who had just experienced the storm and could not handle it. None of the others were left out. Ding! Host captured the female lead Tantai Yaoyue. Received 6,000 villain points. Tantai Yaoyue's female lead aura -300. Qin Fan's protagonist aura -300. Host villain aura +600. Ding! Congratulations to Host for breaking through the 20,000 villain aura. The system is calculating the rewards. Please wait a moment. When the sky had just brightened, Wang Howren in the 7th room received a series of notifications. He was full of anticipation. Not long after, the system sent another notification. Ding! Villain aura has broken through the 20,000 villain aura. Reward calculation complete. Congratulations to Host for receiving the protagonist memory copy card. Wang Howren immediately contacted the system and checked the description. Protagonist memory copy card. Worth 210,000 villain points. Can perfectly copy all of the protagonist memories. The description was very short, making Wang Howren feel that this reward was a bit useless. Copying the protagonist's memories, what was the use of that? This was his first thought, but after thinking about it, it seemed to be a bit useful. Copying the weak protagonist's memories naturally had no meaning. But if he copied the memories of a protagonist stronger than himself, then it was very meaningful. At the very least, he could know what abilities the protagonist had and be on guard. Moreover, he could obtain all of the protagonist's knowledge from the memories. After all, knowledge were also included in the memories. After sorting out this, Wang Haoren felt much better. Looking at the sky outside, it was still a bit early to get up. Chapter 565. When the sun was high up in the sky, Wang Haoren left the villa and went home. On the way, he couldn't help but sigh. He was an experienced person. When he was in school, he read in history books that the ancient kings had their countries destroyed because of women. Wang Haoren had always thought that it was ridiculous. But now, he didn't think about it anymore. Instead, he understood the kings who had their countries destroyed because of women. Femme fatale beauties are really monsters. Wang Haoren had done the accident in the dark, so he didn't feel it that deeply. But after he revealed his cards, he became bolder and turned on the lights. That scene was simply deadly. If Tantai Yaoyue hadn't chased him away, Wang Haoren really wouldn't have left until the end of time. But then again, he still had a femme fatale. Wang Haoren's eyes were unfocused, and no one knew what he was thinking. But before he could think for too long, he was suddenly disturbed by a commotion in front of him. Not far ahead, a group of people were gathered together. It was as if something big had happened. After Wang Haoren saw it with his X-ray vision, he couldn't help but smile. He ran toward the crowd in front of him. He pushed through the crowd and came to the inner circle. He saw Qin Fan lying on the ground. Somewhere was a bloody mess, and he looked very miserable. There were already people calling the ambulance, and there were also people taking out their phones to record and take pictures, because everyone recognized that this was this celebrity that had gone viral on the internet. In this day and age, there was a trend of don't panic when you encounter something, take out your phone and post it on your moments. Wang Haoren suddenly felt that he didn't even need to deliberately add fuel to the fire, and Qin Fan's news would spread quickly. The people around weren't familiar with Qin Fan, so they naturally didn't dare to go forward. Wang Haoren knew that Qin Fan's life wouldn't be in any danger. After Jiang Gaoxian was done, he stopped Qin Fan's bleeding. Plus, Qin Fan's physique was good, so he would be fine. After a while, the ambulance arrived. Wang Haoren said that he knew Qin Fan, so he went with the ambulance. After treatment, Qin Fan woke up very quickly and was pushed into the ward. When Qin Fan opened his eyes, he was a little dazed. Soon, he felt pain in a certain part of his body. At the same time, he thought of the strong enemy he had met last night. A sense of panic rose in Qin Fan's heart. Immediately after, Qin Fan carefully sensed for a moment and immediately realized that something was missing. In an instant, Qin Fan felt as if he was struck by lightning. Ding! The host manipulated from behind the scenes, causing Qin Fan's mentality to be damaged. The reward is 3,000 villain points. Qin Fan's protagonist aura minus 150, and the host villain aura plus 150. After a long while, Qin Fan's eyes finally regained some color. He looked at Wang Haoren, who was beside him, with a questioning look in his eyes. I called my sister out last night to contact you, but you didn't pick up the phone. I was wondering what was going on at that time. Wang Haoren pretended to be ignorant and asked Qin Fan instead. I found you on the path of the villa this morning. What happened? Why were you? Qin Fan's lips started to tremble. He did not know how to answer. Since it has already happened, you should look on the bright side. I already explained to my sister for you, and she also said that she forgave you. Also, I've already notified her. She'll be here soon. Wang Haoren pretended to be comforting, but when these words fell into Qin Fan's ears, it made him feel uncomfortable. Quickly call your sister and tell her not to come. Qin Fan hurriedly said. All right then. Wang Haoren already saw that Tantai Yaoyue had come to the corridor outside. He pretended to agree and took out his phone to make a call. After making the call, Tantai Yaoyue had already arrived at the door of the ward. After such a thing happened to Qin Fan, he naturally did not want to see Tantai Yaoyue. How could Wang Haoren not know? Thus, when Qin Fan was sent for treatment, he notified Tantai Yaoyue to come over. Master, what happened to you? Tantai Yaoyue only knew that Qin Fan was sent to the hospital, but she did not know what kind of injuries Qin Fan had. Qin Fan wanted to find an excuse to deceive her. However, Wang Haoren took the initiative, moving close to Tantai Yaoyue's ear and said something in a low voice. Tantai Yaoyue was shocked and stunned hearing this. Seeing that the matter was exposed, Qin Fan felt so much pain that he could not breathe. Ding! The host caused Qin Fan's mentality to be damaged. Received 3,000 villain points. Qin Fan protagonist aura minus 150. Host villain aura plus 150. Master, with your ability, why would you be plotted against like this? Tantai Yaoyue did not understand. Before this, she only thought that Qin Fan was the strongest person in the world, the peak of martial strength. But now that Qin Fan had become like this, Tantai Yaoyue's belief had completely collapsed. As expected, there was always someone stronger. In fact, before Qin Fan met with this, he also thought so. In the world, he had no opponent. But reality taught him a lesson. Or perhaps, if his attention was not on that calamity-level beauty, even if he was not a match, he would not have been subdued. But unfortunately, there were no ifs. It's because I underestimated the enemy that I was plotted against. Qin Fan's voice was hoarse as he replied. Then do you know who plotted against you? Tantai Yaoyue asked. I don't have a clue. Qin Fan shook his head, his expression sad. Master, you have to pull yourself together. After your injuries are healed, I will go with you to investigate. We will definitely find the culprit. Tantai Yaoyue saw that Qin Fan was so pitiful and could not help feeling sympathy. Adding on their master and disciple relationship, she wanted to help. My dantian was shattered, already lost all of my cultivation. Qin Fan stuttered. What? Tantai Yaoyue was shocked. What Wang Haoren had told her earlier was that Qin Fan had been sliced off. He did not mention anything about his dantian being destroyed. After all, he still maintained the identity of a normal person in front of others. Normal people naturally could not see that Qin Fan's dantian was destroyed. Then I can't do anything. Tantai Yaoyue wanted to take back the words of investigating the culprit. Even Qin Fan was not a match. How could she be a match? Rashly investigating, wasn't that courting death? She still wanted to grow old with a certain person. She did not want to court death. Seeing Tantai Yaoyue's reaction, Qin Fan naturally did not blame her. Because Tantai Yaoyue really could not handle this matter. Asking Tantai Yaoyue to investigate was simply forcing her. I have already paid the medical fees and also paid a lot of deposit. The money for hospitalization is definitely enough. You can rest here at ease. Wang Haoren said to Qin Fan. He was not doing this out of kindness, but because he wanted to let Qin Fan recuperate quickly and provide more wool. Thank you, Haoren. Qin Fan said gratefully. It's what I should do. Wang Haoren smiled. This matter was done by me. Isn't it right for me to pay the medical fees? After staying for a while, Wang Haoren suddenly said, Yaoyue, let's go. Finished speaking, he held Tantai Yaoyue's slender waist. Qin Fan saw this and opened his mouth wide in shock. Chapter 566. You too. Qin Fan looked at Wang Haoren and Tantai Yaoyue's actions in disbelief. I was really careless. You actually found out. Wang Haoren pretended to be annoyed and directly said to Qin Fan, Actually, I won't hide it from you. We are lovers. Before he covered up because he was afraid Qin Fan would plot against him. But now it was different. Qin Fan was already a cripple. Did he still need to be afraid of him? Wang Haoren's actions just now were for Qin Fan to see. That's not right. Aren't you brother and sister? How did you become lovers? Qin Fan did not want to believe this fact and questioned. Don't misunderstand. We are not related by blood. Tantai Yaoyue saw that Wang Haoren had already said it and did not plan to hide it anymore, and explained to Qin Fan. I know this, but even if you're not related by blood, aren't you siblings? I remember you mentioned this before. Qin Fan said. The person I was talking about is my brother Lin Shen. He is already dead. Tantai Yaoyue looked at Wang Haoren affectionately as she spoke. From the beginning to the end, he was not my brother. He called me big sister, but it was just a title. Qin Fan saw this and felt his heart being pierced. Ding! Host caused Qin Fan's mentality to be damaged. Received 2,000 villain points. Qin Fan protagonist aura minus 100. Host villain aura plus 100. Haoren, don't you have a girlfriend? Yaoyue doesn't know about this, right? Qin Fan suddenly thought of something and exposed it in front of everyone. Wang Haoran really wanted to sew Qin Fan's mouth shut so that he would not speak nonsense. Luckily, Qin Fan did not directly call out his name, so he quickly said, "That's right, but Yaoyue knows about this." Qin Fan was stunned. He looked at Tantai Yaoyue and saw that her expression was normal. "Yaoyue, are you not angry?" Qin Fan asked in disbelief. "I'm not angry," Tantai Yaoyue indifferently replied. She thought that Qin Fan was talking about Qiu Qianwei or some other sister. Yaoyue. Qin Fan didn't know what to say. Wang Haoran was afraid that Qin Fan would continue to blabber about Mu Nanji, so he hugged Tantai Yaoyue and said, "Let's go." Tantai Yaoyue nodded. "Master, I will come see you when I have time." After that, he left the ward with Wang Haoran. Qin Fan looked on helplessly as his heart felt extremely unbearable. After Wang Haoran and Tantai Yaoyue left the hospital, they sent her back to the villa and then went home. After he got home, Wang Haoran called Song Zhihui and Mu Nanji and asked them to visit Qin Fan. Or to be more precise, he wanted to stimulate Qin Fan a little more. Qin Fan had impure thoughts towards these beautiful female disciples. Now that he had been amputated, how could he not feel upset when he saw his beautiful female disciples going to visit him one by one? In the Ma family's villa. After Ma Hongshang learned about what happened to Qin Fan on the internet, he was so happy that he jumped up and down. He even wanted to light firecrackers to celebrate. He dared to touch his wife. Now he was getting retribution, right? After Cheng Rue saw this scene, she even called Wang Haoran and told him about it. After Wang Haoran heard it, he couldn't help but feel a little funny. After ending the call with Cheng Rue, Ning Aoshue suddenly came in front of him. Wang Haoran looked at her in confusion. "I'm going back to Tsangzhou," Ning Aoshue said reluctantly. "Are you not happy living here? Why do you suddenly want to go back to Tsangzhou?" Wang Haoran asked with concern. If the female lead ran too far away, it wouldn't look good. She might be seduced by the male lead. Of course, Wang Haoran was very concerned about it. "It's pretty good here. If possible, I even want to stay here forever," Ning Aoshu muttered in a very small voice. Then she raised her voice and explained, "There's some turmoil in the martial arts world at Sangzhou. I don't know where this Master Yi came from, but he's caused quite a stir in the martial arts world of Sangzhou. Several seniors from martial arts families have suffered great losses at the hands of this Master Yi. The top 10 martial arts families of Sangzhou are preparing to discuss this matter. As the current head of the Ning family, I have to go back." Master Yi? Hearing this title, Wang Haoran's heart moved. He asked, "How old is this Master Yi?" There are different opinions. Some say this Master Yi is 17 or 18 years old. Some say he's 50 or 60 years old. "I don't know who to believe," Ning Aoshua said. After Wang Haoran heard it, he suddenly felt that the 17 or 18 years old statement was more likely, because he felt that this Master Yi was very likely to be the male lead. Since he was the male lead, how could he be 50 or 60 years old? 17 or 18 years old was normal. After the things in Sangzhou settled down, if you still welcome me, I'll come back to Qingling. Goodbye. Ning Aoshue said goodbye. "I'll go with you," Wang Haoran suddenly said. "You'll go with me?" The reluctance on Ning Aoshue's face froze. "Actually, I don't want to leave you either. I'll go with you to Tsangzhou. I'll see what the place you grew up in is like." Although he mainly wanted to see if this Master Yi was the male lead, Wang Haoran naturally wouldn't say it out loud. Therefore, he found himself a reason to flirt with Ning Aoshue. Ding. The host has flirted with the female lead Ning Aoshue's heart. Obtained 600 villain points. As expected, when Ning Aoshue heard it, her slightly cold face flushed with excitement. She had been living here for quite some time. Before this, Wang Haoran didn't say anything. This seemed to be the first time he said something like this to her. "Then let's go together." Ning Aoshue was overjoyed, but she still tried to keep calm on the surface to avoid embarrassing herself. Feng Xuanzu was tending to the plants in the garden. Wang Haoran came to the garden and told her about his trip to Tsangzhou with Ning Aoshue. When Feng Xuanzu heard it, she pouted. Ding. The host has made the female lead Feng Xuanzu jealous. obtained 700 villain points. I want to go too. Feng Xuansu couldn't help but say, I'm going for business. It's not because of Ning Aoxue. Stay at home and be a good girl. Wang Haoren wasn't going for sightseeing. Naturally, he didn't want to bring Feng Xuansu along. Moreover, Feng Xuansu and Ning Aoxue liked to bicker. If he brought them along, he wouldn't be able to have a peaceful time. Moreover, more importantly, Wang Haoren wanted to use this opportunity to develop his relationship with Ning Aoxue. With Feng Xuansu around, it would be inconvenient. Then, all right, I'll be back soon. When Feng Xuansu heard Wang Haoren's words, she didn't throw a tantrum. Instead, she nodded obediently like a little wife. After talking to Feng Xuansu, Wang Haoren went out to look for Cui Yutong. He already had an idea about how to deal with Liu Beige. It was only because he was busy dealing with the female lead that he delayed it. After leaving Qingling, he definitely wouldn't be back in a day or two. In order to prevent Liu Beige from finding trouble with Gu Yuro, he had to solve this problem. Chapter 567. After Wang Haoren found Cui Yutong, he asked her to be a witness to sue Liu Beige. Liu Beige had bad intentions at that time. In theory, it was an attempt. If it was confirmed, it would be more than 3 years and less than 10 years. Wang Haoren noticed that Cui Yutong had recorded it. With the video and Cui Yutong as a witness, it was more likely that Liu Beige would be detained. At first, Cui Yutong didn't agree, but Wang Haoren coaxed her for a while and painted a big picture for Cui Yutong. Cui Yutong, who had maxed out her favorability, was so smitten that she couldn't tell north from south. She immediately agreed. Cui Yutong was only an accomplice, but nothing would happen if she became a witness. After Wang Haoren and Cui Yutong agreed, he and Ning Aoxue embarked on the journey back to Cangzhou. Qingling City bordered Cangzhou, so it was not far away. They arrived at Qingling High-Speed Railway Station and boarded the train. In less than 2 hours, Wang Haoren and Ning Aoxue stepped on the land of Cangzhou. Ning Aoxue brought Wang Haoren to the Ning family. When the people of the Ning family heard that Wang Haoren was Ning Aoxue's friend, they welcomed him warmly without any contempt. Wang Haoren was not surprised at all. He was not the main character. Naturally, he would not encounter the kind of situation where he was despised or ridiculed and then slapped in the face. In the living room, Ning Aoxue and Father Ning talked about Master Yi. Wang Haoren sat beside them and drank tea while listening. According to Father Ning's narration, this Master Yi appeared out of nowhere and did not belong to any martial arts family in Cangzhou. Among the 10 martial arts families in the Song province, half of them had already been challenged by this Grandmaster Yi. The 5 martial arts families who had been challenged were naturally resentful. The remaining 5 martial arts families, on the other hand, began to panic, fearing that they would be the next one. Therefore, the 10 martial arts families united to discuss how to deal with this Master Yi. After Wang Haoren heard the narration, he was almost certain that this Grandmaster Yi was the main character. As for the direction of the plot, Wang Haoren had already thought of it. There were 2 versions of the path. In the first version, during the meeting of the 10 martial arts families of the Song state to discuss Grandmaster Yi, Grandmaster suddenly appeared and single-handedly trampled the 10 martial arts families under his feet, making the martial arts world of the Song state bow their heads. In the second version, after the meeting of the 10 martial arts families ended, they organized people to besiege Grandmaster Yi, and Grandmaster Yi defeated everyone. Comparing the 2 versions, Wang Haoren felt that the first version was more likely, because he was more pretentious. Just think about it. At the meeting of the 10 martial arts families, all the people with high status in the families would definitely be present. This was practically the gathering of all the martial artists in the entire Song province. Besieging Grandmaster Yi would only pick a portion of the elites. In comparison, Grandmaster Yi would definitely show up at the meeting of the martial arts heroes of the Song state and trample the martial arts world of the Song state. That would be more likely. After Wang Haoren sorted out his thoughts, he suddenly asked Father Ning, "Uncle Ning, what are the top fighters of the 5 martial arts families challenged by Grandmaster Yi?" Father Ning replied, 4 neutralizing masters and 1 neutralizing great master. What's the level of the top combat strength among the top 10 martial arts families? Wang Haoran continued to ask. Father Ning answered without hesitation, Danjin Master. Wang Haoran was a bit confused. What's the specific true qi cultivation? Father Ning saw Wang Haoran's reaction and felt a bit strange. Ning Aoshue on the side explained, his cultivation is higher than mine, but his cultivation method is different, so he doesn't know about the recognized cultivation levels. Father Ning suddenly understood. Ning Aoshue said to Wang Haoran, a Danjin Master's true qi cultivation is about 150 years. A Danjin Master's true qi cultivation is 200 years. After explaining, Ning Aoshue continued, above that is the supreme force. A Danjin Master with 300 years of true qi cultivation is a supreme force master. A Danjin Master with 400 years of true qi cultivation is a supreme force master. A Danjin Master with 500 years of true qi cultivation is a land immortal. It is said that a land immortal can live up to 200 or 300 years. A land immortal is the limit of humans. But for some reason, not to mention human immortal Lu Di and vigorous strength grandmasters, even elixir strength grandmasters are rare. After hearing what Ning Aoshue said, Wang Haoran finally had a general understanding of all the martial arts realms. So he was a supreme force master now. Wang Haoran understood why Ning Aoshue said so few people could reach such a high level of true qi cultivation. It was nothing more than the thin spirit qi in the modern world. Wang Haoran knew this by heart. But because of this, Wang Haoran couldn't help but suspect that this Master Yi was most likely a cultivator. This was because the concept of thin spiritual qi would usually only appear in urban cultivation novels. After coming to this conclusion, Wang Haoran was both worried and happy. What he was worried about was that cultivator protagonists were extremely difficult to deal with. He was only a supreme force master now. How could he fight against cultivator protagonists? What he was happy about was that this was an opportunity. The female protagonists beside him were all mortals. They were all in their prime and were unbelievably beautiful. However, no matter how beautiful their faces were, they couldn't withstand the ravages of time. They would grow old and become wrinkled. They would no longer be beautiful. Moreover, Wang Haoran himself didn't want to live for 200 or 300 years and then die. After all, a land immortal at the limit of martial arts could only live for 200 or 300 years at most. If he was a cultivator, it would be different. Not only could he live for a long time, but the female protagonists around him could also stay young forever. Just thinking about it made him feel very happy. The key to this opportunity was the protagonist memory duplication card that he obtained when the villain Halo broke through 20,000 points. If this Grandmaster Yi was an immortal cultivator, then after copying his memories, he would be able to obtain all of his knowledge and knowledge. That naturally included the immortal cultivation method. Of course, stopping the plot from progressing smoothly was also a very important task. After all, this could give him villain points and Halo points. A cultivator protagonist's fleece was definitely boundless. According to Wang Haoran's guess, this Master Yi was not at the beginning, but at the end of the early stage of the plot. After making the Tsang State martial arts world bow their heads, it was equivalent to clearing the map of the Tsang State. Next, it was time to show off elsewhere. If he stopped this key plot in the early stage, he would definitely get a lot of rewards. Uncle Ning, is it possible to make the 10 major martial arts families cancel the meeting? Wang Haoran asked. After saying that, he suddenly felt that these words were suspected of distracting the Tsang State martial arts. So he added, I don't mean to harm the Tsang State martial arts world. I can't tell you the reason for doing this, but I can tell you with certainty that if you do as I say, it will only be good for the Ning family and not bad. This meeting of the 10 major martial arts families was undoubtedly a stage for Master Yi to show off. If this stage was dismantled, Master Yi would not be able to show off for the time being. As for whether Master Yi would take the initiative to provoke, Wang Haoran was not worried. Because in this kind of pretentious cultivation plot, generally, the villain would recklessly provoke the protagonist. The protagonist would not deliberately provoke the villain. If he guessed correctly, that Song State martial arts families must have provoked Master Yi, or someone close to Master Yi. That was why the conflict was caused. The 10 major martial arts families were not convinced that they were trampled on and actually joined forces to deal with Master Yi. They were simply looking for trouble. As long as the 10 major martial arts families did not join forces to deal with Master Yi, then Master Yi would not be able to complete the early stage of the plot. Wang Haoren would also be rewarded for this. "Father, I believe in him," Ning Aoshue said. Ning Aoshue's father trusted his daughter, and naturally, he also trusted the person that his daughter trusted. He did not doubt Wang Haoren. But this is imperative. It is absolutely not something that the Ning family can stop. Ning Aoshue's father said very awkwardly, "Is that so?" Wang Haoren felt a little regretful. Unless the Zhuoqiu family, the head of the 10 major martial arts families, is willing to take the lead. Ning Aoshue's father thought about it, and suddenly changed his mind. Old Zhuoqiu is a stubborn old man. He hates it when others threaten his Zhuoqiu family's position. That Master Yi is a threat. How can he give up the opportunity to unite the 10 major martial arts families? Ning Aoshue felt that this was unlikely, so she could not help but interrupt. That's not necessarily true. Isn't Zhuoqiu the most obedient to his little granddaughter? If his little granddaughter is willing to persuade him, then it's a different story. Ning Aoshue's father said, half-jokingly. Chapter 568. The woman of the Zhuoqiu family is very unruly. How can we persuade her? After hearing her father's words, Ning Aoshue couldn't help shaking her head. "I know that. I was just joking," Father Ning said. The speaker didn't mean it, but the listener did. Wang Haoren had lost hope in stopping the martial arts conference of the 10 great families. But after hearing Father Ning's words, he rekindled some hope. His ability to deal with the protagonist was not good, but dealing with women was definitely his strength, not to mention that he was unreasonable. How was the relationship between the Ning family and the Zhuoqiu family? Wang Haoren asked Ning Aoshue, "You want to go to the Zhuoqiu family?" Ning Aoshue understood. Wang Haoren nodded yes. Father Ning continued, "The Ning family and the Zhuoqiu family are just friends on the surface. Aoshue and the woman of the Zhuoqiu family even have some conflicts. I'm afraid I can't take you to the Zhuoqiu family to persuade them. It doesn't matter. I just need to know where to find the granddaughter of the old man Zhuoqiu you mentioned," Wang Haoren said. Ning Aoshue didn't answer immediately, but subconsciously looked at the sky outside. Seeing the clear sky, she replied to Wang Haoren, "Looking at the sky outside, it shouldn't rain tomorrow. The old man Zhuoqiu and his granddaughter have a habit of practicing martial arts in the Cangzhou Park early in the morning when the sky is clear. You can find them there." Wang Haoren secretly noted it down, and then asked, "What's the name of the granddaughter of the old man Zhuoqiu? What does she look like?" "Zhuoqiu Luoyan." Ning Aoshue answered half of the question, and then paused for a moment before continuing, "I'll go with you tomorrow morning." When they were in Qingling, they didn't have many opportunities to contact each other in private. Now that they were in Cangzhou, she naturally wanted to spend more time with Wang Haoren. "Okay." Wang Haoren naturally didn't object, and then murmured the name Zhuoqiu Luoyan, because this name reminded him of Zhuoqiu Qinyu. One Qinyu, the other Luoyan? Was this a coincidence, or was there a connection? Wang Haoren secretly guessed. After the discussion, Ning Aoshue personally prepared the best guest room for Wang Haoren. The next morning, Ning Aoshue came to the guest room to find Wang Haoren and took him to Cangzhou Park. The Ning residence was not far from Cangzhou Park. The two of them walked for less than 10 minutes and arrived at Cangzhou Park. In Song Prefecture, martial artists could be seen everywhere in the park. The age range was extremely large, ranging from children less than 10 years old to old people in their 70s and 80s. Ning Aoshue was wearing a light green long dress. Her black hair naturally fell to her slender waist. Her face was slightly powdered, which made her already delicate facial features even more bright and moving. The cinnabar between her eyebrows added a unique and mysterious charm. Ning Aoshue was definitely a famous figure in Cangzhou. No matter if it was her appearance or martial arts talent, she was almost the best in Cangzhou. especially when the Ning family announced not long ago that Ning Aoshue would step into the transforming strength great-grandmaster in 1 or 2 years. Her father even directly gave the position of the head of the Ning family to Ning Aoshue. This made Ning Aoshue even more in the limelight. However, when the Ning family announced this, Ning Aoshue went to Qingling and did not show up. At this time, Ning Aoshue suddenly appeared in front of people, which also caused a stir. Many people frequently looked to the side. Some young martial artists looked at Ning Aoshue with eyes full of worship and admiration. Most of the women were envious and jealous. Wang Haoran, who was beside Ning Aoshue, also received a lot of attention because of this. Everyone was curious about who this person was and how he could walk side by side with Ning Aoshue. Moreover, looking at their behavior, they seemed to be quite familiar with each other. However, even so, no one provoked or ridiculed Wang Haoran, saying that he was not worthy of Ning Aoshue. Instead, everyone felt that Wang Haoran and Ning Aoshue were a good match. After all, Wang Haoran was not the main character. The plot of being ridiculed and then being humiliated really had nothing to do with him. Wang Haoran was quite happy about this. Who the hell liked to be ridiculed when they were full? Only the main character would like this. Wang Haoran preferred the feeling of being respected wherever he went. Ning Aoshue looked straight ahead and ignored the surrounding gazes. Her face looked very calm, but she could not help but feel happy in her heart. This kind of happiness did not come from the attention she received, but from the fact that people seemed to have misunderstood her relationship with Wang Haoran. Ning Aoshue was not the kind of person who talked a lot. If people misunderstood, then so be it. She would not explain it all. Not long after, she took Wang Haoran to a very quiet place in the park. Because this was the place where Master Zhuqiu and his granddaughter often practiced martial arts, ordinary people did not dare to disturb them. Those who came to the park to practice martial arts would deliberately avoid this place. Ning Aoshue gestured to the bench not far away and said to Wang Haoran, "Sit for a while. They should be here soon." Wang Haoran nodded and sat on the bench with Ning Aoshue to wait. Not long after, as expected, a pair of grandfather and granddaughter slowly walked over. Wang Haoran's field of vision was relatively far, so he immediately fixed his eyes on them. He saw that the old man's hair was all white, but he looked hale and hearty, without the feeling of lethargy. The girl next to him looked to be 13 or 14 years old. She was exquisite, cute, and very delicate. "They are coming," Ning Aoshue reminded him. Hearing this, Wang Haoran was completely sure that the girl was Zhuqiu Luoyan, but he could not help but feel confused. Before this, he thought that Zhuqiu Qinyu and Zhuqiu Luoyan had some relationship. Maybe they were twin sisters, but the age gap between them seemed to be a little too big. Zhuqiu Qinyu was almost 25 years old, while Zhuqiu Luoyan looked to be only 13 or 14 years old. How could there be such twins? Don't look at how young Zhuqiu Luoyan is. In fact, she is 4 or 5 years older than me, Ning Aoshue suddenly said. Wang Haoran raised his eyebrows and looked at Ning Aoshue in surprise. Then, he carefully looked at Zhuqiu Luoyan, who was not far away. Ning Aoshue was almost 20 years old, and Zhuqiu Luoyan was 4 or 5 years older than her. Then, wouldn't Zhuqiu Luoyan's age be about the same as Zhuqiu Qinyu's? It seemed that these two people should be related. Moreover, after Wang Haoran took a closer look, he found that Zhuqiu Luoyan was a little like a miniature version of Zhuqiu Qinyu. Maybe they really were twins. After coming to this conclusion, Wang Haoran could not help but feel happy. He was still regretting that there were so many female leads in the harem. How could there be no twin female leads? This was the standard for the harem. Now, wasn't it here?